Chapter 121. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Gu Jiao woke up before dawn. After washing up, she went to feed the chickens in Little Jing Kong. The chicks had grown into big chickens and would occasionally crow. If no one woke up, they would stop crowing. There was a small market nearby. It was in a different direction from the Imperial College, so it was faster to walk there. Gu Jiao carried her basket and went to the small market. Steamed buns, fresh and delicious steamed buns, a hawker shouted. Gu Jiao walked over and asked, "How much is one steamed bun?" The hawker saw the birthmark on her face, but he didn't show any strange expression. He was indeed from the capital and didn't find it strange. The hawker smiled and said, "One big meat steamed bun is 3 copper coins, 2 brown sugar steamed buns are 3 copper coins. How many do you want?" The steamed buns were very big, and one was enough to fill him up. Gu Jiao took out the food box from the small basket and said, 8 meat steamed buns and 4 sugar steamed buns. They ate the meat steamed buns and the sugar steamed buns in Little Jing Kong. She didn't know if 4 steamed buns could fill him up. The little guy's appetite was a bit shocking. "Okay, that's a total of 30 copper coins. I'll give you a steamed bun." The hawker packed the steamed buns for Gu Jiao. "Thank you." Gu Jiao paid and went to buy pots, bowls, ladles, basins, and other kitchen utensils. Then she bought firewood. The firewood in the capital was not cheap. A bundle of firewood cost 10 copper coins. According to their firewood burning speed, they could burn for about 2 to 3 days. Gu Jiao asked for 2 bundles of firewood and asked how much charcoal was sold. The hawker selling firewood said, "Do you want black charcoal or silver charcoal? Black charcoal is 5 copper coins per caddy and silver charcoal is 20 copper coins per caddy." "Silver charcoal is so expensive?" The hawker selling firewood laughed and said, "Silver charcoal is very useful." This was the truth. Black charcoal was not only not resistant to burning, but it was also very smoky. In comparison, silver charcoal was more resistant to burning and didn't smoke. In the end, Gu Jiao bought 100 caddy of silver charcoal for 17 copper coins per caddy. The peddler drove the mule cart and personally delivered the firewood and silver charcoal to the door. Xiao Lulang had already woken up and cleaned the kitchen. He was now cleaning the backyard. His movements were very light and did not wake anyone up. "Morning," Gu Jiao greeted. "Morning." Xiao Lulang nodded. Gu Jiao directly asked the peddler to move the firewood and silver charcoal to the kitchen. After the peddler left, Gu Jiao walked over and took the broom from Xiao Lulang's hand. "I'll do it. You go and tidy up the box." This time, Gu Jiao, Old Madam, Gu Yan, and Gu Shaoshan didn't have much luggage. On the contrary, Xiao Lulang and Little Jing Kong had several big suitcases full of luggage. Xiao Lulang mainly brought books, while Little Jing Kong brought back things from the temple. Of course, there were also his 7 chicks. "Okay." Xiao Lulang turned around and went to the study. After a while, Gu Jiao brought 2 steaming big meat buns to him. "You eat first. I'll cook some millet porridge." "Have you eaten?" Xiao Lulang stopped her. "Not yet." Gu Jiao shook her head. She wanted to say that she could eat while she was cooking the porridge. Unexpectedly, Xiao Lulang pushed the plate forward and said, "Then let's eat together." Gu Jiao thought for a while and said, "Okay." Since there were more people in the family, the two hadn't eaten alone for a long time. The last time was at the inn in town, but that was more than half a year ago. The two sat face to face, as if they had returned to the early days. Gu Jiao laughed. "What are you laughing at?" Xiao Lulang asked. Gu Jiao held the big meat bun in her hand and said, "I'm laughing at the first time I asked you to eat. Did you think that I poisoned it and didn't dare to eat it?" "I didn't," Xiao Lulang flatly denied. Gu Jiao suddenly leaned over and stared at his handsome face. "Now you're not afraid that I poisoned it? Is it because you trust me too much?" While Gu Jiao was feeling complacent, she saw Xiao Lulang looking at the bun in his hand with a complicated expression. Then he took Gu Jiao's bun and gave his bun to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao was speechless. After the two finished eating breakfast, The rest of the family was still asleep. Xiao Lulang had to report to the Imperial College. Gu Jiao estimated that they would sleep until noon, so she sent Xiao Lulang to the Imperial College. The Imperial College officially started school in late October. Nowadays, there were many supervisors coming to report. Some were from the capital, while others, like Xiao Lulang, had come from other places. The regular supervisors of the Imperial College didn't need to pay tuition. All expenses were paid by the Imperial Court, including the supervisors' dormitories and meals. These were all paid for by the Imperial Court. Xiao Lulang could go back today after reporting to the Academic Affairs Office. Of course, if he wanted, he could stay at the Imperial College to study. The Imperial College had the largest library in the entire Zhao Kingdom. Otherwise, it wouldn't have become the holy land that all scholars dreamed of. Gu Jiao was waiting for him outside the Imperial College. Gu Jiao felt that the heavy traffic in front of her was very refreshing. So this was the capital. It was really different from the county town. The roads were much wider, and several carriages would pass by from time to time. Most of the girls on the road were wearing veils. There were very few girls like Gu Jiao who showed their faces in public. Gu Jiao was engrossed in watching when the crowd suddenly surged in one direction. Everyone stood on both sides of the street and looked in one direction. Gu Jiao wasn't standing far from the street. She was pushed to the side, and someone stepped on her foot. I'm sorry. The culprit hurriedly apologized to Gu Jiao. It was a boy dressed as a scholar, but whether it was her appearance or her deliberately lowered voice, it was clear that she was a girl. His features were delicate and pretty. I'm really sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. The girl dressed as a boy cupped her hands and bowed to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao didn't take it to heart. She moved back to give way. However, the people behind her didn't give her a chance to move. She was stuck in the middle of the crowd and couldn't move forward or backward. The little scholar kept trying to squeeze forward, but she was too weak and couldn't get to the front. She gave up resisting and wiped the sweat from her forehead. She asked Gu Jiao, "Miss, what happened to your face?" Gu Jiao calmly said, "Birthmark." The little scholar hurriedly covered her mouth. "I thought it was rouge. I am sorry." Gu Jiao didn't care about her unintentional offense. She felt apologetic. It was bad enough that she bumped into her, but she also stepped on her foot and said the wrong words that poked her sore spot. Sigh. There wasn't a day that she didn't offend people. The little scholar looked at Gu Jiao and said, "Miss, you're not from the capital, right? Your accent doesn't sound like it." Gu Jiao replied, "Yes." The little scholar continued, "Did you also come here to see the Crown Prince consort?" Gu Jiao asked strangely, "What consort?" The little scholar's almond eyes widened. "The Crown Prince consort? You came here so early because you heard that the Crown Prince consort came back from praying and was going to pass by the directorate, right?" Gu Jiao shook her head. "I don't know the Crown Prince consort. I don't want to see her." The little scholar took a cold breath. Who came to see her because they know her? Can common people like us know the Crown Prince consort? Don't we all want to see her from afar because we heard of her and admire her? Gu Jiao said seriously, "I have never heard of her and don't admire her." "Are you from the Zhao Kingdom? You have never heard of the Crown Prince consort?" The little scholar's voice was unusually loud and caused the people in the surroundings to look at them. Everyone looked at Gu Jiao in disbelief. Clearly, like the little scholar, they found it strange that there was someone in the world who didn't know the Crown Prince consort of the Zhao Kingdom. As they spoke, someone in the crowd suddenly shouted, "The Crown Prince consort is here! The Crown Prince consort is here!" Following his exchange, the crowd became restless. Hundreds of imperial guards came on iron hooves. They formed an enormous formation and surrounded the Crown Prince consort's carriage. The common people didn't even see how many wheels the carriage had before the imperial guards escorted the Crown Prince consort's ceremonial procession down the street. The crowd dispersed. The little scholar looked at the disappearing figures of the imperial guards and stomped his feet in anger. I wasn't looking. Was it easy for me to come out? What a waste of waking up so early." Leaving the dense crowd, Gu Jiao sighed in relief. She really wasn't used to being so close to strangers. The little scholar saw that Gu Jiao wasn't upset or angry at all and asked curiously, "You really didn't come to see the crown prince consort?" Gu Jiao said calmly, "I said I wasn't." The little scholar asked, "Why?" Gu Jiao said, "I also said that." The little scholar said, "You really haven't heard of her?" Gu Jiao looked speechlessly at him. The crown prince consort was the person that the little scholar admired the most. He would not allow anyone in the world to not hear of her. The little scholar explained to Gu Jiao seriously, "Do you know who the crown prince consort is? She is the most outstanding woman in the entire Zhao kingdom. There is no man in the world that doesn't like her, no woman that doesn't envy her. Do you know the great scholar of the Zhuang family, Zhuang Xianji? He was once the crown prince consort's teacher. Do you know who went to school with him? The young Marquis of Zhaodu." Gu Jiao looked calmly at him. The little scholar exploded. "No way. Don't tell me you also don't know who the young Marquis of Zhaodu is." The young Marquis. The young chancellor. Gu Jiao thought for a moment. "Oh, I've heard of him. It was a long time ago. Young Master Qin got a painting from somewhere and said it was the young Marquis calligraphy, but Xiao Lulang said it wasn't." This was the only time she had heard of the young Marquis of Zhaodu. The little scholar slapped his forehead. Oh my God, did you jump out of a rock? How can you not know the young Marquis and the crown prince consort? One of them was the #1 genius of Zhao Kingdom, and the other was the #1 genius of Zhao Kingdom. They were childhood sweethearts and even had an engagement. After the young Marquis died, the crown prince consort kept her chastity for him for 3 years. This year she accepted the emperor's bestowment of marriage and married the crown prince. You actually haven't heard of such a legendary event? The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are novels with connotations that can't be found online here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/115065314. HTML. This genius remembers the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. Chapter 122. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. Gu Jiao hadn't heard of it before, and she wasn't interested either. However, Xiao Lulang hadn't come out yet, so she had no choice but to wait on the spot and listen to the little girl's chatter for a while. Xiao Lulang went to the directorate's Mingxian Hall. He didn't need anyone to lead the way as he was familiar with the place. His walking stick attracted the attention of many supervisors. He straightened his back and calmly walked past a bunch of strange gazes. Mingxian Hall was the directorate's academic affairs office. Every day, there would be supervisors and supervisors coming here to wait for supervisors from all over the country to report. Today, the supervisor of Mingxian Hall was a supervisor with the surname Gao, as well as 2 supervisors with the surname Wang and Su. Alright, follow Supervisor Su to the dormitory. School will start at the end of October. If you have nothing to do, you can go to the library first. Thank you. A supervisor from another place walked out of Mingxian Hall under Supervisor Su's lead. Gao Xuezheng lowered his eyes and sorted out the supervisor's information. Next, a slender jade-like hand placed an admission document in front of him. This hand was a bit too good-looking. Gao Xuezheng subconsciously raised his head and was shocked by the other party's appearance. Offer? Offer what? Libation? Gao Xuezheng suddenly realized that he had made a fool of himself. Little Chancellor had long passed away, so how could the person in front of him be him? It was just that they looked too similar at first glance, which caused him to lose his composure. However, upon closer inspection, they didn't look alike. The young Chancellor was a gentle youth. His eyes were always filled with a smile that made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. Furthermore, there was a mole under his right eye. Not only did the person in front of him not have that mole, he also didn't have a gentle and bright temperament. Even his eyes were cold. Gao Xuezheng was secretly annoyed that he had almost mistaken the person for someone else, because he was too tired recently. He composed himself and sat down to pick up the document. Xiao Lulang? Someone from Clear Spring Village? His surname was also Xiao. Could they be relatives? Soon Gao Xuezheng shook his head in self-mockery. How could Marquis Xianping's mansion have a relative from a small village? Gao Xuezheng then said, "Your results are not bad. You're a top scorer from Yu Prefecture, and was directly recruited. School will officially start on the 27th of October. Once school starts, you'll be assigned to different classes. Don't be complacent just because you're a top scorer. There are many top scorers in the Imperial College, and you'll soon realize that you're just one of them. Don't run around for the time being. Go to the library and read more books, understand?" Although he had said those words to deal a blow to Xiao Lulang, he had not said so much to the person who had recommended him. It was obvious that he had his eye on the top scorer. However, he had seen a lot of things. Many people who were number one in their local area were immediately defeated when they came to the Imperial College. He still hoped to give the other party a warning. After all, it was not easy for a small village to produce a top scorer. Gao Xuezheng wanted to arrange for Xiao Lulang to stay in the same dormitory as the other top scorers, but was rejected by Xiao Lulang. "I'll stay outside." "Why?" Gao Xuezheng was puzzled. "The dormitory won't charge you any money. You'll be able to focus on your studies if you stay in the Imperial College. The capital is filled with flowers. A poor kid like you who hasn't seen much of the world will easily be led astray." Gao Xuezheng had a sharp tongue. If not, he would not have remained a small official in the Imperial College for so long. However, he was not a bad person. Xiao Lulang said calmly, "It won't affect my studies." Gao Xuezheng sighed. "All right then. If you don't stay in the Imperial College, you'll have to come back 3 days later to collect your token." The Imperial College provided free food and lodging, but they could not force the students to stay here. Looking at Xiao Liulang's back, Gao Xuezheng shook his head. What a pity. He had already predicted that Xiao Lulang would be blinded by the prosperity of the capital and abandon himself. From then on, his grades would plummet. When Xiao Lulang walked out of the Imperial College, the talkative little scholar had already been found by his family's servants and left dejectedly. Gu Jiao looked at him. "Is it done?" Xiao Lulang nodded. "Yes, I'll come back 3 days later to collect my token from the Imperial College." The two of them returned home side by side. The journey was really short. After coming out of the Imperial College, they took a few steps and turned into the alley where they lived. They lived in the middle of the alley. Not all the houses in the alley were occupied. The environment was quite peaceful. "It's more convenient than going to school in the village," Gu Jiao said with a smile. Xiao Lulang nodded and said, "In the afternoon, I'll go take a look at the private school for Gu Yan and Xiaoshan. Little Jing Kong will go take the Imperial College's entrance exam. He will take the exam 2 days later than me." Gu Jiao smiled and nodded. "Okay, I'll do as you say." After a few words, they arrived home. Gu Jiao was very satisfied with this house. The two of them were just about to enter when a horse carriage came from the other side of the alley and stopped in front of their house. The carriage driver pulled on the reins and jumped off the horse. "Excuse me, is this top scorer Zhao's house?" Xiao Lulang saw the insignia on the carriage and his eyes turned cold. Gu Jiao asked, "What's wrong? What do you want?" The carriage driver said politely, "It's like this. My housekeeper knew that top scorer Xiao had come to the capital and specially asked me to send some things over. Winter comes early in the capital. Next month, we will start burning charcoal. The carriage is filled with high-quality silver charcoal. There are also some materials and cotton wool, all of which are the warmest. You see, should I directly move the things in for the two of you?" Gu Jiao looked at Xiao Lulang. Xiao Liulang's expression was as cold as a knife. Gu Jiao said to the carriage driver, "No need, we are not lacking in silver charcoal. We also do not need cotton wool mattresses. Give them to your housekeeper to take back." The carriage driver said awkwardly, but housekeeper Lu said, "No buts. If he tells you to take it back, then take it back." Gu Jiao lightly finished speaking and entered the house with Xiao Lulang, closing the courtyard door. The carriage driver finally left. Gu Jiao looked at Xiao Lulang. We just moved here yesterday. Only the Ding and Marquis carriage driver and Zhang Bao know where we live. That housekeeper Lu's information is very fast. Xiao Lulang lightly said. No need to pay attention to him. Saying this, he turned around and went to the study to organize the books. Gu Jiao rubbed her chin. It couldn't be that someone had set their sights on them, right? Who would have the courage to set their sights on her people? The carriage driver drove the carriage out of the alley and came to a corner on the other side. Housekeeper Lu had been waiting for a long time. How is it? Housekeeper Lu asked. The carriage driver said. Young master is not willing to accept it. Housekeeper Lu smiled. This young master is more stubborn than I imagined. The carriage driver asked. Should we tell the Marquis? Housekeeper Lu faintly smiled. No need. There is no need to trouble the Marquis over such a small matter. Just wait. He will quickly find out how difficult it is for a commoner to survive in the capital. When that day comes, he will obediently return to the manor. The matriarch and the others really slept until noon. When Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang entered the courtyard, Gu Yan and the other two were soullessly squatting by the well to wash their faces. There was a public well near the alley, but there was also a well in the manor. This saved them the trouble of fetching water from the outside. The millet porridge in the kitchen was ready. Gu Jiao heated up the steamed buns and stir-fried a plate of shredded bamboo shoots and black fungus, a plate of green vegetables and bean sprouts, and a large portion of chives and eggs. Little Jing Kong was not allowed to eat eggs, so Gu Jiao stewed a small pot of tender tofu soup for him. Although Little Jing Kong's dishes were all vegetarian, the plate presentation and utensils were more exquisite than other dishes. Gu Jiao pretended that he could not afford to eat them. Little Jing Kong was particularly arrogant to show off his dishes. The people at the table were not greedy at all, but they all pretended to be envious. After the meal, Little Jing Kong valiantly went to wash his small bowl. This was a habit cultivated in the temple. He washed his own alms bowl. The others were not idle either. The matriarch went to pick corn cobs, and Gu Yan sat over to pick corn cobs with her. They were the least able to do physical work in the family. They used to be the most pampered people, but they still took the initiative to share the housework within their ability. Gu Xiaoshan went to chop firewood. Xiao Lulang tidied up the kitchen, and Gu Jiao tidied up the two courtyards. She had thought about it. One courtyard was for planting vegetables and raising chickens and puppies, and the other courtyard was for the whole family to move around. There was a laurel tree in the backyard, and Little Jing Kong could practice martial arts on the tree. Gu Jiao took a hoe and went to the front courtyard to plow the ground. Little Jing Kong came over with the chickens. Jiao Jiao, I'm going to walk the chickens. Okay. Gu Jiao nodded. Don't go too far. Okay. Little Jing Kong responded. Little Jing Kong used to walk the chickens from the front of the village to the back of the village. Here, he decided to walk from the front of the alley to the back of the alley. Gu Yan's puppy was very envious, and it also wanted to go out for a walk. However, its owner was too lazy to die. After picking the corn cobs, he lay on the rattan chair like a corpse. The puppy swung its butt and followed Little Jing Kong out. Little Jing Kong took 7 chickens and a puppy to the end of the alley, and was about to turn back. At this time, 2 beggars nearby stared at his dog. The puppy was no longer a baby dog during its confinement period. It had a small fat body, and its meat looked very fresh and tender. The beggar's saliva flowed out. The 2 beggars exchanged glances, and one of them took out a meat bun from his pocket, broke it open, and shook it at the puppy. The puppy was a little stupid, and it was immediately fooled. It eagerly ran over and was immediately put into a sack. Oh, the puppy barked. Little Jing Kong turned his head. Where's Xiaoba? That's right, Little Jing Kong named Gu Yan's dog Xiaoba. After the beggars caught the dog, they stared at Little Jing Kong's chickens. 7 chickens. It was enough to eat for a few days. The beggars used the same trick to lure the chickens with big meat buns, but the 7 chickens didn't move. The 2 beggars simply grabbed the chickens with their hands. Little Jing Kong was only a 3-year-old child, so no one paid any attention to him. Even more so, No one paid any attention to the 7 half-grown chickens. But when the 2 beggars rushed over, the 7 chickens suddenly flapped their wings and jumped up. They were no longer little chicks that couldn't even jump over the threshold. They could jump as high as half a person, and it was only because the 2 beggars were short. The 7 chicks jumped onto their shoulders and pecked at their heads. Ah! The 2 beggars let out a miserable cry. The sack containing the puppy fell from one of the beggars. Little Jing Kong walked over and opened the sack. Xiao Ba. Xiao Ba was angry that the beggars put a sack over his head, so it decided to fight back. Xiao Ba opened its big mouth and bit down. Oh whoa! It bit its own tail. Little Jing Kong covered his eyes. He couldn't bear to see it. The 2 beggars fell to the ground after being pecked by the 7 chickens, and they ran away. The 7 chickens fluttered their wings and chased after them. They chased them for half a street until Little Jing Kong called them. Only then did they come back valiantly and spiritedly. However, just as they were crossing the street, a carriage sped past. The 6 carriages in front of them all stopped. Only Little 7 did not stop the carriage. Little Jing Kong ran over with his short legs. The coachman might not notice a chicken, but he could still see a child. The horse carriage was too fast, and it was too late to tighten the reins. Seeing that the child's belly was about to be trampled by the horse's hooves, a long whip came, wrapped around Little Jing Kong, and pulled him out of the carriage. The coachman breathed a sigh of relief and continued to move forward. Little Jing Kong was dizzy, and when he came back to his senses, he was sitting in a cold and broad embrace. He looked at the ground. It's so high. The man was sitting on a tall horse, wearing a black brocade robe, holding the reins with one hand and the whip with the other. He held Little Jing Kong in his arms with the other hand. Little Jing Kong blinked his big eyes and looked at him. Thank you. The man looked at the chicken in his arms and said coldly, It's just a chicken. Don't do that again. It's called Little Chi. Little Jing Kong handed the chicken to the man. Where are your parents? The man asked. Little Jing Kong didn't have parents. He was abandoned in the temple when he was a few months old, but Jiao Jiao had parents. He thought for a while. My parents passed away. Orphan? The man frowned. Little Jing Kong shook his head like a rattledrum. I have a Jiao Jiao. The man asked. Where do you live? Little Jing Kong pointed. There. The man sent Little Jing Kong home. Gu Yan and the others were in the backyard, and Gu Jiao was in the front yard. She had just finished plowing the ground, and was using the firewood that Gu Xiaoshun chopped to make a fence. She was wearing the clothes that she used to work in the village, and it was very simple. Jiao Jiao, I was almost hit by a horse carriage just now, and this big brother saved me. Little Jing Kong held the man's hand and walked into the yard. Gu Jiao put down the firewood in her hand and raised her sweaty head to look at the man. The man was tall and strong, and his facial features were cold and resolute. His aura was somewhat unapproachable. However, Gu Jiao didn't know if it was her illusion, but she felt that he looked familiar, as if she had seen him somewhere before. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. All the novels that can't be found on the internet are available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/115034740. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. Chapter 123. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more interesting content. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. All the novels that can't be found online are available here. The man turned and left after sending Little Jing Kong home. Gu Jiao didn't even have time to thank him. Gu Jiao asked Little Jing Kong what happened. When she found out that he jumped out to save a chicken, Gu Jiao also felt that he shouldn't have done that. However, Gu Jiao was not in a hurry to express her opinion. Little Jing Kong frowned deeply and said, Big brother said that I shouldn't have done that. Does Jiao Jiao also think that I did wrong? Gu Jiao asked him. What do you think? Little Jing Kong puffed up his chest and said, I think I did the right thing. If I was the one in danger, Jiao Jiao would also jump out to save me. Great, he even used an idiom. Gu Jiao said, but have you ever thought that maybe little Qi doesn't need you to save it? Ha! Little Jing Kong didn't understand. Gu Jiao explained patiently. Little Qi is very sensitive and small. A horse's hooves can't step on it easily, but a horse's hooves can easily step on you. Little Jing Kong suddenly realized something. He wasn't as sensitive as a chicken. Little Jing Kong secretly swore that he would practice even more diligently. He wanted to become more agile and protect his chicken. A few days later, Marquis Gu and his entourage arrived at the capital. The bumpy ride for more than a month made the three of them sick. Gu Jinyu had never sat in such a bad carriage. His whole body was so sore that it didn't feel like his own. Yao Shi didn't have any complaints. She was very glad that she sat in this carriage. If it were Jiao Jiao and Yanner who had to suffer like this, her heart would ache. It's been hard on you. Yao Shi held Gu Jinyu's hand and said guiltily. Gu Jinyu said warmly, I'm fine. My younger brother's health is not good. He definitely won't be able to take such a jolt. I'm very happy that mother gave the carriage to elder sister and younger brother. Yao Shi patted Gu Jinyu's hand. You're so sensible. Marquis Gu helped Yao Shi and Gu Jinyu off the carriage. The servants in the manor were very happy to see the Marquis and Gu Jinyu. But they could not help but be shocked when they saw Yao Shi next to the Marquis. Yao Shi had lived in the villa for 10 years, and had not returned to the manor even once. The male servants guarding the door did not recognize her at all. Marquis Gu said coldly, What are you standing there for? Hurry up and greet madam. The few of them looked at each other in dismay, then stepped forward and saluted in a daze. Greetings, madam? What madam? Did the Marquis have a mistress outside? Yao Shi had long passed the age where she would feel embarrassed over such a small offense. Also, she had been taking Jiao Jiao medication for the past half a year, so her mood and body were both very good. Marquis Gu brought Yao Shi and Gu Jinyu into the manor. The servants had already sent the news to old Madame Gu's Pine Crane courtyard. Old Madame Gu had not seen her son for half a year, and was rather worried. She sent someone to call Marquis Gu to Pine Crane courtyard immediately. Marquis Gu had originally planned to bring Yao Shi to pay respects to the old madam tomorrow, but the old madam had urged him, so he could only change his route halfway to Pine Crane courtyard. Old Madame Gu was overjoyed to see her son, but when she saw Yao Shi next to her son, old Madame Gu's smile froze. Why is she back? Old Madame Gu asked mildly. Gu Jinyu felt awkward for his mother. Mother! Marquis Gu glanced at old Madame Gu, indicating that she should not embarrass Yao Shi like this. Old Madame Gu pretended not to see. Yao Shi saluted properly. Greetings, mother. Gu Jinyu also saluted. Greetings, grandmother. Old Madame Gu had originally found Gu Jinyu pleasing to the eye, but now that Yao Shi was here, she started to dislike Gu Jinyu as well. Yao Shi lived with Gu Yan at the Hot Springs Villa. Now that Yao Shi had returned, but Gu Yan was nowhere to be seen. Old Madame Gu did not even think to ask. Marquis Gu tried to smooth things over. Mother, your son has been running around and is exhausted. I will come to pay respects to you tomorrow. He did not say that Yao Shi and Gu Jinyu were tired, but only that he was tired. How could old Madame Gu not let her own son rest? This was the reason why old Madame Gu disliked Yao Shi. It was not entirely because Yao Shi did not come from a good family, but more so because as long as Yao Shi was here, her son seemed to be possessed and did not care about anyone. Marquis Gu pretended not to understand old Madame Gu's displeasure. He chuckled and said, Your son will leave first. He then led Yao Shi and Gu Jinyu out of Pine Crane courtyard. The three of them had just stepped over the threshold when they bumped into a woman dressed in luxurious clothes and jewels. The woman looked at the three of them, and a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes, but she quickly bowed and said, Master, I'm here to greet you. Madam. Miss. Marquis Gu frowned. Concubine Ling, why are you here? The woman called Concubine Ling smiled and said, I am here to deliver ginseng soup to mother. Did she need to dress up like this to deliver ginseng soup to old madam? Even Gu Jinyu could tell that she was here to stop Marquis Gu. Old Madame Gu's surname was Ling. The former Madame Marquis was old Madame Gu's niece. Concubine Ling was the former Madame Marquis's stepsister, and could be considered old Madame Gu's niece. When Madame Ling died of illness, Marquis Gu married Yao Shi. Old Madame Gu was worried that Marquis Gu would not love his 3 sons with his ex-wife after he had a new lover, so she made the decision to take Concubine Ling as a concubine. Marquis Gu did not like Concubine Ling, but with old Madame Gu's support, Concubine Ling's life in the manor was very good. Especially after Yao Shi moved to the mountain villa with Gu Yan, Concubine Ling was about to become the official madam of the manor. In addition, she was the aunt of the 3 young masters, so the 3 young masters were much closer to her than to Yao Shi. Then go send her off, Marquis Gu said faintly and left with Yao Shi. The next day, Yao Shi said that she was sick and did not go to pay respects to old Madame Gu. Nanny Feng advised Yao Shi. Madam, why do you have to do this? You should be thorough in your etiquette so that people won't gossip. Yao Shi smiled bitterly. No matter how thorough I am, there will always be people who will find fault with me. If I don't go, old Madam will not be bothered by it. Marquis Gu and Gu Jinyu went to Pine Crane Courtyard. Hearing that Yao Shi was sick, old Madame Gu snorted coldly. She just doesn't want to see me, Marquis Gu hurriedly said. Look at what you're saying. How could Yao not want to see you? Look, these gifts were all personally prepared by her. She respects you the most in her heart. The gifts were indeed chosen by Yao Shi, and she had put in a lot of effort. However, Yao Shi did not do it for herself. She did it to prevent old Madame Gu from venting her anger on Gu Jinyu. Old Madame Gu pursed her lips. She did not like Yao Shi. It was good that Yao Shi did not come. She would not be annoyed when she saw her. Where's Yan? Old Madame Gu finally asked about Gu Yan. Why didn't he come with you? Marquis Gu did not dare to say that Gu Yan had arrived in the capital long ago. He smiled and said, Yan'er's health is not good. I told him to come slowly. There are doctors accompanying him. Old Madame Gu did not ask further. Marquis Gu said, I'll bring Jinyu into the palace in a moment to pay respects to your ladyship. At the mention of Consort Shu, old Madame Gu looked at Gu Jinyu with more kindness. That's good. Your aunt has been thinking about you for a long time. She sent people to the manor to ask about you several times. Gu Jinyu smiled as if relieved of a burden. Jinyu also misses aunt very much. As they spoke, a servant came to report that the 2nd and 3rd young masters had arrived. Old Madame Gu's face immediately showed unconcealable affection. If one were to ask who old Madame Gu doted on the most, it would be none other than her 3 precious grandsons. Even her own son Marquis Gu did not have as much weight as her grandsons in her heart. Gu Chengfeng and Gu Chenglin drew the curtain and entered. Grandmother. Father. The 2 cupped their hands and bowed. Gu Jinyu stood up and bowed to her 2 elder brothers. 2nd brother, 3rd brother. Gu Chenglin glanced at her indifferently. Gu Chengfeng said, No need to be so courteous. His words were polite but his tone was very distant. Gu Jinyu was used to it. Her brothers did not target her, but her mother. As long as it was her mother's child, her brothers would not like them. Where's your eldest brother? Why don't I see him? Old Madame Gu asked. Gu Chengfeng said, Eldest brother came back very late last night. He went to the army camp early in the morning. It was not easy to be the eldest grandson of Marquis Ding and Fu. He was the heir of the Marquis Fu. He shouldered the rise and fall of the Marquis Fu. It was harder than other children. Old Madame Gu's heart ached for her grandson, but she could not really drag him back from the army camp. Marquis Gu saw that it was about time to cut to the chase. He cleared his throat and said to old Madame Gu, Mother, I have something to tell you. What is it? Old Madame Gu looked at him in confusion. Marquis Gu glanced at Gu Jinyu and took a deep breath. He said solemnly, It's about the background of the 2 children. Gu Jiao tidied up the house for a few days and finally fixed up the 2 courtyards. She planted green onions, rapeseed and lettuce in the small vegetable garden. She also planted some peas at little Jing Kong's request. The small vegetable garden only took up half of the courtyard on the left side. Gu Jiao was thinking of building a grape trellis on the right side and planting some gourds. Next year, She would plant some grapes and loofah during the sowing season. Xiao Lulang had already received the waist tag of the Imperial College and had also signed little Jing Kong up. The Imperial College was also divided into classes. According to their grades and age, they were divided into 4 classes: Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow. Outside of these 4 classes, there was also a very special class that specially recruited talented children. It was somewhat similar to the prodigy class in Gu Jiao's previous life. This class was only opened a few years ago. Xiao Lulang had never attended it when he was young. Gu Jiao stopped cutting vegetables. Wasn't the Imperial College closed for a few years? The elementary school isn't closed? Xiao Lulang added some firewood to the stove. Strictly speaking, the elementary school of the Imperial College does not completely belong to the Imperial College. It is separated from the Imperial College by an alley. When His Majesty closed the Imperial College, he did not mention anything about the elementary school. The elementary school took advantage of this loophole and has been open ever since. The elementary school had been open for a few years. It should be quite experienced in teaching prodigies. Gu Jiao asked, "What's the entrance exam about?" Xiao Lulang said, "Based on the results of the exams in previous years, the main exam is literacy, scripture writing, and arithmetic." Gu Jiao hummed. "There's no problem with these small clearances." Xiao Lulang nodded. However, to be safe, the two of them still spent a lot of money to buy the exam questions from previous years for little Jing Kong to do. Little Jing Kong's accuracy was very high, but his handwriting was slow and ugly. It was extremely ugly. Thus, Little Clear Sky's daily schedule had an additional item: writing calligraphy. Little Jing Kong was not happy. He suspected that his bad brother-in-law was depriving him of the joy of being a child. Xiao Lulang said to him, "Jiao Jiao also practices calligraphy every day. You two can practice together." Little Jing Kong happily agreed when he thought about being alone with Jiao Jiao. Gu Jiao had not dreamed for a long time. The last time she had a dream was before Xiao Lulang went to the provincial urban and rural examination. It had been 4 months since then. She had almost forgotten that she could dream. However, that night, when she returned to her room after practicing calligraphy with little Jing Kong, she soon fell into a strange dream. The reason why it was strange was because the person who appeared in her dream was neither Xiao Lulang nor herself. It was the man who saved little Jing Kong, whom she had almost forgotten. The man was wearing green armor and a blood-red cloak. He was sitting on a majestic warhorse. When the man passed by a secluded alley, he was ambushed. The assassins were all first-class masters. Even so, they were still no match for the man. Just when the man was about to win, one of the assassins suddenly threw out a child and stabbed the child with his sword. In order to save the child, the man's right arm was cut off by the assassin. The assassin's sword was highly poisonous. Although the man's life was saved, his right arm was crippled. Strictly speaking, this assassination had something to do with little Jing Kong. This group of assassins had been secretly watching the man for a long time. They did not dare to make a move until they accidentally saw the man giving birth to a defenseless child. They decided to do the same thing, which led to the subsequent assassination. When Gu Jiao woke up, she had a strange expression on her face. She was getting more and more confused about her dream. Could she dream of people who were not related to her? However, no matter what, he had saved little Jing Kong's life. Moreover, the assassination was inspired by him saving little Jing Kong. She could not sit back and do nothing. The assassination would take place tomorrow evening. As for the location, she remembered that there was a lucky cloud in near where the man was assassinated. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. You can find all the novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/115031802. HTML Genius memorized this website's address. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. Chapter 124. The latest chapter of the book is not finished yet. Please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. You can find all the novels that you can't find online. The next morning, she found Xiao Lulang and asked him where the Lucky Cloud Tavern was. Xiao Lulang was puzzled. Where did you hear about the Lucky Cloud Tavern? Gu Jiao's expression didn't change. I heard about it when I went to the market yesterday. Isn't the food in that tavern delicious? Xiao Lulang said seriously. It's a shady tavern. Huh. Gu Jiao was surprised. Xiao Lulang explained. On the surface, it's an inn, but in reality, it's a gambling den. Many people have been fooled there, so don't be fooled. Xiao Lulang firmly believed that Gu Jiao was fooled by someone with ulterior motives. He refused to tell her where the Lucky Cloud Tavern was. Gu Jiao scratched her head and had to think of another way. After breakfast, Xiao Lulang went to find a suitable private school for Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshun. Gu Jiao went to the market with the excuse of buying groceries. She directly hired a carriage and said, "Go to the Lucky Cloud Tavern." The carriage driver said, "The Lucky Cloud Tavern is quite far. Miss, are you in a hurry? If you're not, please wait for a moment. I'll get another customer." "I'm in a hurry," Gu Jiao said. "Then it'll cost 200 copper coins." The carriage driver said. The Lucky Cloud Tavern was on the other side of the capital. His horse was not a good horse. It would take him more than half a day to go there and back, so he might not be able to get another customer. Okay, Gu Jiao agreed. The carriage driver was quite familiar with the capital's terrain, so he chose the nearest road. However, he didn't know what day it was, but there were two important people on the road, so all the people had to avoid them. When Gu Jiao arrived at the Lucky Cloud Tavern, the assassination had already begun. Gu Jiao heard the movement in the alley and jumped off the carriage without saying a word. She went around the other end of the alley. Both sides were in the midst of a fierce battle, and did not notice that a thin and small figure had sneaked behind them. Gu Jiao found the sack hidden in the corner, and carried the unconscious child out. Then she found a large stone and put it inside. The assassins were no match for the man. They exchanged glances with each other, and were about to start their dirty tricks. One of them picked up the sack with his sword and threw it at the man. The huge sword chi split open the sack and the things hidden inside flew out. The assassins were all dumbfounded. Wasn't it the child's? How did it become a rock? The man was also puzzled. What kind of move was this? Was this the latest bewitching technique? Using stones? The man effortlessly split the rock into two halves. The best time for the assassination had passed. The assassins knew that they had no chance to kill the man today, so they did not continue fighting. After a few feints, they ran away one after another. The man did not chase after them. He put away his sword and was about to get on his horse when his ears suddenly twitched. He looked at the alley warily and asked, "Who is it?" His five senses were too sharp for him to be discovered. Gu Jiao came out from behind the pillar with the unconscious child in her arms. "It's me." The man recognized Gu Jiao. "Why are you here?" Gu Jiao shrugged. The man's gaze fell on the child in her arms. At first glance, it looked like the little guy from the other day. However, when he looked closer, he realized that the child had a buzz cut. The child's hair was very long and tied up. Moreover, the child's appearance was not as cute as the little guy from the other day. The man pondered for a moment, and thought of the stone that flew out of the sack. He seemed to remember that the assassins were also very surprised at that time. Could it be? The man looked at Gu Jiao and asked suspiciously, "Did you swap the child out?" "Yes." Gu Jiao did not deny it. "I happened to pass by and saw them with a child. So I followed them. Coincidentally, they were fighting with you, so I took the child out." She said it casually, but the man knew that the group of assassins were not ordinary. It was very difficult to follow them without being discovered. He looked at Gu Jiao with even more suspicion. "If I remember correctly, you live near the Imperial College. This place is in the east and the Imperial College is in the west. Why did you pass by here? What are you doing here?" Gu Jiao paused and looked at Shang Yunan not far away. Gambling? The man was speechless. It was fine if she did not want to tell him. Of course, The man did not know that Gu Jiao came specially to save him. While the two of them were talking, the child's parents caught up with them. My son. My son. The woman burst into tears. Gu Jiao returned the child to her and said, he took a little knockout drug. It's not a big dose, so he'll be fine. He'll wake up when it's dark. Thank you, miss. Thank you, miss. The woman held the child and kowtowed to Gu Jiao. Her husband also knelt down and kowtowed. Gu Jiao looked at the man and said, you don't have to thank me. Thank him. He was the one who chased the assassins away. The two of them kowtowed to the man again. After the two of them left, the man was about to leave as well. He grabbed the reins of the horse with one hand and held the saddle with the other. Just as he was about to get on the horse, Gu Jiao stopped him. Don't you need to treat your wound? The man's eyes suddenly flashed with a trace of vigilance. He drew his sword and pressed it against Gu Jiao's neck. Who are you? How do you know that I'm injured? Even the servants in the residence did not know that he was injured. Gu Jiao did not even look at the sword against her neck. She just calmly glanced at the man's waist and said, you're bleeding. The man lowered his head to look. The clothes around his waist were soaked with blood, and there was a large patch of red. Gu Jiao said, be careful of losing too much blood. This amount of blood, if it was a normal person, they would have already fainted. He had been fighting for a long time. Gu Jiao looked around. There was no one in the alley. She simply put down the small basket and took out a small medicine box. She said to the man, lift up your clothes and let me see. The man asked, what do you want to do? Gu Jiao lightly said, I'm going to stop your bleeding. The man knit his brows. Gu Jiao did not want to open the medicine box in front of him. She gave him a look and said, turn around and lift up your clothes. Are you a doctor? The man asked. Yes, I am. Don't talk nonsense. You fight so well. How can a doctor be so wishy-washy? Gu Jiao realized that the people here were more or less afraid of treatment. Of course, it could also be because they did not trust her enough. The man was a little hesitant. It was not that he did not trust Gu Jiao, but Gu Jiao was a woman. How could he lift up his clothes in front of a woman? Gu Jiao sighed. If he was not going to do it, then she would. She walked behind the man, took off his armor, and lifted up his shirt. The man did not react at all. It was just stitched up, right? Gu Jiao looked at the wound. It's torn. It needs to be stitched up again. The man's wound was stitched up by the medical officer in the military camp. Few doctors among the people were proficient in this kind of surgery. The man still had some doubts about Gu Jiao's medical skills. But looking at Gu Jiao's serious face, he could not refuse in the end. Gu Jiao said, turn around. The wound extended from the man's back to his right waist. It was indeed easier to stitch it up if he turned around. The man frowned and turned around. The anesthetic has run out. Gu Jiao did not understand why it had not been replenished until now. Gu Jiao closed the box and waited for a while. She silently repeated the words anesthetic in her mind. But there was still no anesthetic after she opened the box. Gu Jiao said to him, I can only stitch it up for you. Bear with it. The man was stunned. He said to Gu Jiao, is it an anesthetic? I don't use that. You can stitch it up. Gu Jiao did not explain the difference between local anesthesia and anesthetic. She stitched up his wound carefully. He did not make a sound during the entire process. He was a tough guy. But the two of them did not expect that when she was about to stitch up the wound, an assassin would turn back. The assassin had a bow in his hand. He knocked 5 arrows in a row. The man did not have time to react. He turned around and protected Gu Jiao with his arms. He planned to use his body to take the arrows. He saw Gu Jiao's eyes. They were calm and cold, filled with a flash of killing intent. Gu Jiao pulled out the dagger at his waist. With a sudden swing, she threw it at the assassin's chest. The assassin groaned and fell from the roof. His bow also fell to the ground. The man turned around in disbelief. Gu Jiao calmly squatted down and continued stitching up the man's wound. It's done. Gu Jiao said. The man looked at Gu Jiao in a daze. He was still in a state of great shock. Gu Jiao blinked her eyes and looked at him. She suddenly realized. Yes, I almost forgot about this. As she said this, she took out a bottle of medicine that she had concocted and handed it to him. It's better than your medicine. Gu Jiao was not in a blindfolded contest. She had smelled the medicine when she was stitching up his wound. She carefully identified the ingredients and confirmed that it was not as good as her medicine. The man still had a look of disbelief. Was it not over yet? Gu Jiao looked at the assassin not far away. He's not dead. We can still capture him and interrogate him. Or do you want to arrest me? No. The man finally came back to his senses. You were defending yourself. If you want to arrest someone, you should be arresting them. Oh, then I'm leaving. Gu Jiao clapped her hands and carried the small basket on her back. She walked out of the alley with a calm expression. Gu Jiao had given the man too much shock. Even the assassins could not cause a ripple in his heart. He hesitated for a moment, but still urged his horse to catch up with her. I'll send you home. Gu Jiao tilted her head and looked at him. The man paused. I also live in the direction of the Imperial College. It's on the way. Up to you. Gu Jiao arrived at Lucky Cloud Inn and got into the carriage that she had hired from the market. The man was actually worried that the assassins had not gone far and had their eyes on Gu Jiao. That was why he offered to send her home. Fortunately, there were no signs of the assassins until they arrived at Gu Jiao's house. They probably did not catch up with her. That was good. He did not want to implicate her. Gu Jiao paid the fare, and the coachman drove the carriage away. The man also left. Goodbye. Gu Jiao nodded. Goodbye. Jiao Jiao. Dear brother. Little Jing Kong saw the two of them through the crack of the door and ran over. He hid his little hands tightly behind his back to prevent Gu Jiao from seeing them. He tilted his head and asked, Jiao Jiao, why did you come back with dear brother? Is dear brother here to visit our house? His behavior reminded the man of Gu Jiao's behavior just now. They were indeed a family. Even their words and actions were so similar. Gu Jiao patted his little head and said, Dear brother is just passing by. Oh. Little Jing Kong thought for a while, moved a step towards the door, and said, Then I'll talk to dear brother for a while. Okay. Gu Jiao pretended not to see that he was hiding something in his hands. After Gu Jiao entered the house, the man asked Little Jing Kong, What are you hiding in your hands? Little Jing Kong took out his little hands from behind his back and revealed a small box. He said quietly, Jiao Jiao's birthday is coming soon. I'm preparing a gift for Jiao Jiao. This is the first birthday I'm celebrating with Jiao Jiao. I want to give her a surprise. I'm afraid that she has already seen through your surprise, little guy. Little Jing Kong had a lot to say to the person he liked. He turned into a little loudspeaker again and kept blabbering. The man didn't feel annoyed at all. He only felt that this child was very cute. He was very puzzled. How did a woman who didn't even blink when killing someone raise such a naive and ignorant little guy? She must have protected him very well, he thought. Little Jing Kong's blabbering sounds echoed in his ears. The smell of food wafted from the courtyard. The man felt a trace of home in front of this unfamiliar house for the first time. The man said goodbye to Little Jing Kong and returned to the house. As soon as he stepped through the gate, a clever and delicate manservant rushed over with a hurried expression. Why did you come back so late? In the few days that you weren't in the residence, something big happened in our residence. What happened? The man asked. Sigh. The servant scratched his head and cheeks. He had been holding it in for a few days, but he suddenly didn't know where to start. The man ignored him and entered the house coldly. The servant chased after him. It's about the second madam. She lost the child in the past. The young miss in our house isn't the master's flesh and blood. The real young miss is outside and refuses to come back. I heard, she grew up in the countryside. She's timid and hasn't seen the world. She doesn't dare to come to the house. The matter of Gu Jiao and Gu Yin coming to the capital couldn't be covered up. Both of them refused to return to the house, so there were many guesses in the house. The servant sighed. After so long, it turns out that the master doted on the wrong person. She's not your biological sister. Gu Chongqing's eyes were cold. I don't have a sister. I only have 2 younger brothers. Gu Chongqing wouldn't recognize Yao Shi. He also wouldn't recognize the two children that Yaoshi had with his father. Digression, and what a big flag. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/115004119. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. Chapter 125. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. Gu Chongqing's body was injured. After returning to the manor, he did not alarm anyone. First, he had a servant call the manor doctor to his courtyard. The manor doctor was already accustomed to Gu Chongqing's injuries. The heir was a person who did not care for his life. It would be abnormal if he didn't have some injuries when he came back. However, after examining the condition of the wound, the manor doctor was shocked. "Heir, may I ask who stitched it up for you?" Gu Chongqing asked. "What is it?" "The military camp doctor stitched it up once and the doctor outside stitched it up once. Is there a problem?" The manor doctor said. "No, it was stitched up very well. I have never seen anyone who could treat a torn wound so well. Which doctor was it?" Hearing the manor doctor say this, Gu Chongqing had an idea. "You can withdraw. Don't spread the news of my injuries." This small one understands. He had been the manor doctor for a few days and understood this heir's habits. He did not like to make a big fuss and cause the entire manor to panic. After the manor doctor withdrew, the servant brought over a basin of hot water and a set of clean clothes. Earlier, in order to not attract attention, he had used a cloak to cover the wound. Now, even the cloak was stained with blood. The servant helped Gu Chongqing take off his clothes while muttering, "Heir, how did you get injured this time? Ever since you were transferred to General Ran's command, you have been injured more than before. Is General Ran especially scary? How can there be no injuries when practicing martial arts? General Ran's rule is strict. This is a good thing. It is Zhao country's fortune. Don't say these words again in the future." "Oh." The servant muffled a response. He put the blood-stained cloak into the basket and began to take off his outer and inner robes. "That's right, heir. Did you call the manor doctor over because you were worried? In the past, after you were treated in the military camp, you would not let the manor doctor see you a second time. Since you were worried about that person's medical skills, why did you let him treat you?" "That's right. Why did he let her treat him?" Gu Chongqing couldn't answer either. She did not look very old and seemed to be about the same age as Gu Jinyu. It would be good if a girl of her age did not cry out in fright when she saw such a hideous injury, but she could still calmly stitch it up for him. Not only that, she had also killed an assassin. After killing him, she continued to stitch him up as if nothing had happened. He had lived for 20 years, but this was the first time he had seen such a strange woman. His small body seemed to contain a great amount of power. "Your Highness, concubine Ling wants to see you." A maid outside the door reported. The manservant looked at him and said, "Your Highness is injured. Why don't I go and help her?" "No need." Gu Chongqing changed into clean clothes and went to the flower hall to see concubine Ling. Concubine Ling was Madame Little Ling's younger sister. She did not look much like Madame Little Ling. She was more beautiful than Madame Little Ling, but unfortunately, neither she nor Madame Little Ling could compare to Madame Yao. Perhaps it was not only because concubine Ling had the same bloodline as Madame Little Ling, but also because concubine Ling had some of Madame Little Ling's desolation back then. Gu Chongqing was still polite to her. Gu Chongqing said, "It's so late. Concubine Ling, haven't you slept yet?" Concubine Ling smiled. "I'm old now. I don't always feel sleepy like when I was young. It's enough to sleep for 6 to 4 hours a day. These days you always go out early and come back late. I haven't seen you for a long time, so I wanted to come and see you. Gu Chongqing said. I've made you worry. Concubine Ling said earnestly, don't be too tired. You still have to take care of your body. There will be a long way to go in the manor, but you can't let anything happen to your body. I know. Although he said so, Gu Chongqing didn't dare to forget the old duke's instructions before he left. He was the eldest grandson and also the eldest brother. He had the old madam, younger brothers and sisters, and the manor's 100 years of history. He had to support the entire manor even if he had to kneel. After the greetings, Concubine Ling didn't have the intention to leave. Gu Chongqing asked, is there anything else, Concubine Ling? Concubine Ling twirled the handkerchief in her hand and smiled embarrassedly. It's like this. Madam has returned to the manor. You must have heard about her. Gu Chongqing looked at Concubine Ling. Concubine Ling, are you talking about the two children being swapped? Concubine Ling was slightly stunned. You know? Gu Chongqing said. I just found out. Concubine Ling glanced at the manservant standing behind Gu Chongqing and understood. She said, although Jinyu isn't your father's biological child, she has been raised in our manor for many years. We have developed feelings for her. If we send her away, not only will your father and madam be reluctant, even the old madam will be reluctant. Gu Chongqing didn't think much about this matter. He didn't care, so he didn't fuss about it. Concubine Ling smiled warmly. Jinyu's birthday is coming soon. Do you need me to prepare a birthday gift for her? Gu Chongqing said. Concubine Ling, just arrange it like in the past. Although he didn't recognize Gu Jinyu as his sister, he wouldn't deliberately embarrass her. He didn't have the hobby of bullying a young girl. Concubine Ling continued. Yen also came to the capital. As for Yen and that child, should we also send a birthday gift to each of them? Gu Yen moved to the villa before she was 4 years old. They hadn't seen each other for 10 years. Gu Chongqing actually couldn't remember what Gu Yen looked like. He nodded. If you can send it, then send it together. It was just a matter of face. Concubine Ling smiled. Okay, I'll prepare the gift for your father and let him bring it over. Gu Chongqing didn't have any objections. Concubine Ling, you can make the decision for such a small matter. Concubine Ling reminded him to take care of his body before leaving. Gu Chongqing knew how badly injured he was. The pain wouldn't go away for 3 to 5 days. However, he slept for a night. When he woke up the next day, he didn't feel much pain. He applied some of the medicine that Gu Jiao gave him. It was cool and the pain in his wound lessened. Gu Chongqing felt that it was very magical. Where did that girl's medical skills come from? She was actually better than the medical officer in the military camp. There was no training for the next 2 days, but Gu Chongqing still decided to go to the military camp. When he passed by Chuehua Pavilion, he happened to bump into Gu Jinyu accompanying Yao Shi for a walk in the garden. He saw the other, and the other also saw him. The scene was slightly awkward. When Yao Shi had first married into the Marquis Fu, Gu Chongqing hadn't even been 10 years old. He was a half-grown brat, and he had just lost his mother. His heart was filled with resentment, and he had spoken ill of Yao Shi many times. He had even threatened to chase Yao Shi out. In this Fu, if there was him, there would be no Yao Shi. If there was Yao Shi, there would be no him. He had even complained about Yao Shi in front of his grandfather and grandmother. Now that he was older, he would not be as insensible as he had been when he was young. However, he would not call Yao Shi mother. Not in this lifetime. Yao Shi nodded from afar. He also raised his hands in a faint greeting. They greeted each other politely and distantly. Logically, this awkward encounter should have ended, but Gu Jinyu suddenly walked down the pavilion and came in front of Gu Chongqing. He curtsied and said, "Eldest brother, good morning." "Good morning." Gu Chongqing's expression was indifferent. Gu Jinyu didn't seem to care. He raised a sweet smile and said, "Eldest brother, it will be my birthday in a few days. Will eldest brother return to the Fu on that day?" Without waiting for Gu Chongqing to speak, Gu Jinyu continued. Yang Yang said that she will also come. I hope that eldest brother will also come. Facing those eyes that were smiling but could not hide their unease, Gu Chongqing did not reject him as thoroughly as he usually did. I will return when I have time. Gu Jinyu smiled. Many thanks, eldest brother. Gu Chongqing said coldly. Don't thank me too early. I might not have time. With that, he brushed past Gu Jinyu and left without looking back. Gu Jinyu thought to herself. It seemed that not being mother's child made eldest brother less angry at her. Before returning to the capital, she had worried that she would be looked down upon by the world after her identity was exposed. In the end, this was not the case. Imperial concubine Shu liked her because of her talent. Old Madam liked her because Imperial concubine Shu also liked her. What did it matter if she was father's flesh and blood? Once she became a county princess and had eldest brother's love, who would dare to look down on her in the future? Oh right, there was also Royal Princein. Last time when she entered the palace, she was so focused on solving problems for the fifth prince that she forgot to mention Royal Princein. This coming-of-age banquet was a great opportunity to meet Royal Princein. After taking a walk, Gu Jinyu found Marquis Gu and told him her thoughts. Marquis Gu was shocked. What? Send an invitation to Royal Princein? That's not appropriate, right? We are not familiar with Royal Princein. He did not dare to rush to establish a relationship with Royal Prince, and just because he had taken in Royal Princein and his sister for a few nights. Putting aside the interests between the major powers, Royal Princein alone was not someone he could establish a relationship with. The old Marquis might have some face. After all, the old Marquis had military achievements. But he was not his father. Gu Jinyu said confidently, Father, trust me. The royal prince will definitely come. Marquis Gu could not resist his daughter's coaxing. In a moment of impulse, he sent the invitation to Royal Princein. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896/115000519. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. Chapter 126. The newest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. That night, Jun Wang received an invitation from Marquis Ding and Fu. Ever since Jun Wang ended his life as a hostage in the country of Chun and returned to the capital, he kept a low profile. Other than studying for the imperial exams, he did not interact with anyone. Everyone in the capital knew this in Jun Wang's personality. Normally, they would not take the initiative to interact with him. Thus, looking at the invitation in his hand, Jun Wang was surprised. In order to not appear rude, Marquis Gu's invitation was for Jun Wang and Zhuang Mengdai. Jun Wang was surprised, but seeing Zhuang Mengdai's name, he was not surprised. Marquis Gu really raised a restless daughter. He did not need to think to guess that it was done by Gu Jinyu, who had swapped places. However, Jun Wang did not expect that Gu Jinyu had misunderstood his words, causing Gu Jinyu to have thoughts that she should not have. He only thought that she was trying to win over Zhuang Mengdai, and use Zhuang Mengdai to invite him to the Fu to bask in his glory. He sneered and threw the invitation on the table. Wu Yang asked, Jun Wang, what is Ding and Fu thinking? Why did they send you and young Miss Kai Dai an invitation? The relationship between the two parties was a bit complicated. Last time at the villa was an accident. It was late and there were no inns nearby. He could not see at night and was afraid that his illness would be exposed, so he stayed at Ding and Fu's villa. However, behind Ding and Fu was Imperial concubine Shu. Behind Imperial concubine Shu was the Emperor. They were too close to the Zhuang family. Were they not afraid of causing the Emperor's suspicions? Jun Wang sneered. If someone really asks, it's just a relationship between two young girls. It can't be considered a faction. Wu Yang curled his lips in disdain. Don't go to this kind of fool's banquet. When the old marquis was on the throne, he did not have the right to have relations with our Zhuang family, much less now. And Jun Wang faintly said, Don't look down on Marquis Ding and Fu. The old marquis had outstanding military service in the past, but suddenly had his military power taken away by His Majesty. He even had to hand over the loyalists that he had secretly trained. Do you think it's really like this? Isn't it? Wu Yang asked. Royal Prince narrowed his eyes. I've always suspected that the old marquis had severed ties with His Majesty on the surface, but in reality, he took the opportunity to leave the capital to secretly cultivate troops for His Majesty. If Xianping Marquis Fu is the open spear in your Majesty's hand, then Ding and Marquis Fu is the hidden arrow behind your Majesty. Wu Yang expressed his doubts. But no matter how I look at Marquis Gu, he doesn't look like someone who can achieve great things. How long can old Marquis hold on by himself? Isn't your Majesty making the wrong bet? Royal Prince An's gaze was deep. Marquis Gu can't, but Gu Chongqing can. Wu Yang. Royal Prince An did not continue this topic. Instead he asked, Miss Gu's birthday is also on the same day, right? Wu Yang naturally understood that the Miss Gu his master was referring to was not Gu Jinyu. He said, It should be. There's also young Master Gu. Royal Prince An nodded. Have you found out where they are staying in the capital? Wu Yang said, I've heard about it. Miss Gu's husband went to the Imperial College to register and left his address. But what? Royal Prince An asked. Wu Yang said, That residence was the one that Royal Prince wanted to buy. Unfortunately, it was bought by someone for 10 times the price. Royal Prince An had a bit of an impression. You're talking about the residence that is very close to the Imperial College and has 2 large courtyards. That's right. Wu Yang nodded. Royal Prince An was confused. How did they get into that residence? Wu Yang said, I heard that Miss Gu's husband rented it for 30 taels of silver every month. Royal Prince An was even more confused. Only 30 taels? 30 taels was not a small amount. But if one knew that the residence was bought for 10 times the price, they would feel that the rent was not worth mentioning. All of the residences in the alley were very close to the Imperial College. But only that residence had the largest courtyard. It was very suitable for people with small children. She just happened to have a 3-year-old little brother. But how did they rent it? Maybe it's good luck. What Wu Yang really wanted to say was that the person who bought the residence was an idiot. Spending so much money to buy a residence in the Imperial College just to rent it out? Royal Prince An shook his head. Forget it. There's no need to look into this. It's not bad for them to live there. There are students from the Imperial College nearby. No one will recognize the Empress Dowager. There's one more thing. Wu Yang said. What is it? Royal Prince An asked. Wu Yang said with a strange expression. Does Royal Prince still remember the recommendation quota for the county? This subordinate asked around. Miss Gu's husband got 2 first places in the county exam. His total score is first in the county. Royal Prince An said, I know about this. It's because his grades are good enough that I persuaded grandfather to think of a way to reopen the Imperial College. This way, his entire family can enter the college. The Empress Dowager can also enter the capital without attracting attention. Is there a problem? Wu Yang said with a puzzled expression. The recommendation quota for the county wasn't his. He got in himself. Royal Prince An gave a puzzled sound. It was unknown if he was more surprised that the other party got first place in the provincial exam, or more surprised about the quota. Who was the quota given to? He asked. Wu Yang said. It was given to a friend of his called Feng Lin. This subordinate has checked. This Feng Lin has no background. He ranked 17 in the provincial exam. The provincial exam was taken in Song County. He didn't even get into the Imperial College. I don't know how he got the recommendation quota for the Imperial College. Royal Prince An sneered. It's enough to bribe the county magistrate. Wu Yang frowned. But the quota for the Imperial College is handed in first. The results of the provincial exam will come out later. Could it be that Xiao Lulang was confident that he could get first place before the results came out, So he bribed the county magistrate in advance and gave the quota that should have belonged to him to his good friend? Isn't this too outrageous? It was indeed outrageous. After all, even Royal Prince didn't dare to make such a risky move. But Royal Prince didn't believe that there was a hidden reason. After all, Wu Yang had also checked Xiao Liulong's background. He was an orphan from outside the city. He lost his father when he was young. His mother raised him and his older brother, but died with his older brother. In the end, he was the only one left. He fainted at the entrance of the village and was saved by Gu Jiao. After they got married, he was registered in the village. He was appreciated by Principal Li. Principal Li even unilaterally announced that he was his direct disciple. He didn't say anything, but it was true that after he became Principal Li's disciple, his results improved by leaps and bounds. He was originally at the bottom of the class. Who would have thought that in less than a year, he would soar to the sky and become the provincial capital's top scorer? Royal Prince smiled faintly. Back then, Principal Li and my fourth uncle were listed as the capital's 4 great talents. My fourth uncle had always been unconvinced. Why is Principal Li ranked higher than him? Now we have an answer. Was it really Principal Li's credit? Why did Wu Yang feel that top scorer Xiao was the one who wasn't simple? But Wu Yang didn't say these words. He knew his royal prince's personality. He was resourceful and farsighted. But at the same time, he thought highly of himself. He didn't think that anyone in the world could be smarter than him. In the blink of an eye, it was the 18th of October. The autumn air was crisp and the clouds were light. The manor was busy even before the sun rose. Today was not only Gu Jinyu's birthday, but also her coming-of-age ceremony. Marquis Gu's original intention was for Gu Jiao and Gu Yan to return to the manor to celebrate their birthday. But the siblings heartlessly rejected him. Gu Jiao didn't return because she didn't think of herself as part of the Marquis's manor. Gu Yan didn't return because there weren't many people in the manor who truly welcomed him. His grandmother only had 3 older brothers in her heart. He was sickly and had bad luck. Ever since he was young, his grandmother didn't like him. As for his 3 older brothers, when he was young, he naively thought that they were really his older brothers. After being beaten a few times, he understood that they would never be a family. Gu Jinyu's background was only known to the masters and a few trusted servants in the manor. Outsiders didn't know that Gu Jinyu was the wrong daughter. Nor did they know that Madame Yao and her children had returned to the capital. They just thought that it was the same as the previous years, that Gu Jinyu was the only daughter celebrating her birthday, so they didn't suspect anything. Madame Yao had given her present to Gu Jinyu last night. Early in the morning, she had gone to the Imperial College to celebrate the twins' birthday. Gu Jinyu couldn't care less about her disappointment, because she had too many surprises today. Consort Shu couldn't come to the Marquis's manor, because something had happened at the last minute in the palace. She had asked the 5th prince to come in her place. The 5th prince even brought the emperor's imperial edict, officially conferring her the title of county princess with the title of Hui. This was the Marquis's manor's first county princess. Everyone felt honored. Old Madame Gu also felt honored, and knelt down to thank the emperor for his grace. Grandmother. Gu Jinyu helped old Madame Gu up. Old Madame Gu patted her hand in relief, her eyes full of affection. I knew you were capable. His Majesty has conferred you the title of County Princess Hui. The word, Hui, shows how much His Majesty appreciates you. She was praising Gu Jinyu for her intelligence. Gu Jinyu bowed and said, It's all thanks to grandmother's good teachings. I've been under grandmother's influence since I was young. It's all thanks to grandmother that I have the knowledge I have today. Grandmother didn't favor one over the other just because I'm a girl. She hired so many outstanding tutors for me. Without grandmother, Jinyu wouldn't have the title of county princess. Old Madame Gu was overjoyed when she heard this. Old Madame Gu did dote on Gu Jinyu, but she couldn't compare to her 3 grandsons. The tutors were all hired by Marquis Gu. Old Madame Gu just didn't object. However, Gu Jinyu was willing to give her all the credit, which showed her filial piety. She wasn't like that wild girl who grew up in the countryside. She had been in the capital for so long, but didn't even kowtow to her. It was a pity that she wasn't her biological daughter. They were separated by a layer. Congratulations, old madam. Congratulations, County Princess. Concubine Ling presented her carefully prepared gift. Gu Jinyu didn't like Concubine Ling, but she knew that old madam liked Concubine Ling. She wouldn't disrespect old madam. She personally took Concubine Ling's gift. Thank you, Concubine Ling. Concubine Ling took out another gift. Your eldest brother prepared this for you. He can't leave the military camp, so he asked me to send this to you first. Gu Jinyu knew that this was actually prepared by Concubine Ling. She wasn't disappointed. She couldn't eat everything in one go. Her eldest brother's change in attitude towards her would take time. She already saw the signs. She believed that in time, her eldest brother would definitely accept her from the bottom of his heart. Gu Jinyu's coming-of-age ceremony was very grand. Many influential officials in the capital came. Even the Minister of Education of the Imperial College came. The Minister of Education was an official position second only to the Chancellor in the Imperial College. There were 2 ministers, 1 minister and 1 deputy. The one who came was the Minister of Education, Lord Zheng. The young Chancellor had passed away and the old Chancellor had resigned and left the capital. Everyone in the capital was saying that this Lord Zheng would be the next Chancellor of the Imperial College. Gu Jinyu felt extremely honored. All the grievances she had suffered in the villa for half a year had all disappeared. She indeed belonged in the capital. The capital was her place. Here she could shine. If Minister of Education Zheng's arrival made Gu Jinyu feel extremely honored, then the next person would make the entire Marquis' residence feel extremely honored. The person who came was the Crown Princess's trusted aide. The Crown Princess had sent Gu Jinyu her coming-of-age gift. Gu Jinyu simply didn't know what to say. The Crown Princess was the future Empress. Her status was second only to the Empress and the Crown Prince. Even Consort Shu didn't dare to put on airs in front of her. Such a powerful person actually sent someone to attend her coming-of-age ceremony? Gu Jinyu was overwhelmed by the favor. The eunuch smiled and said, "Congratulations, County Princess Hui." The Crown Princess said that if County Princess Hui is free, you can visit the Eastern Palace and play chess with her to relieve your boredom. Yes, Gu Jinyu respectfully replied. The eunuch waved the horsetail whisk in his hand and smiled. It's getting late. The Crown Princess is still waiting for me to report back. I'll send you off. Please wait, County Princess Hui. After the eunuch left, old Madame Gu and Marquis Gu both felt that this was unreal. In one night, they even had dealings with the Crown Princess? It might be an exaggeration to say that they had dealings. The Crown Princess had most likely sent a congratulatory gift on account of His Majesty. But no matter what, this was enough for them to be prominent in the capital for a while. Jinyu didn't disappoint grandmother. Old Madame Gu's last bit of resentment that Gu Jinyu wasn't her biological granddaughter disappeared. So what if she wasn't her biological granddaughter? Anyone who walked out of the Marquis' residence would represent the Marquis' residence in the future. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1149729949. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. Chapter 127. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that cannot be found online are all available here. Marquis Ding. And Manor was not too far from the directorate, so Yao Shi arrived very early. Gu Jiao had just finished washing up when she heard a knock on the door. She opened it and saw that it was Yao Shi. She could not help but be stunned. Yao Shi gently smiled and said, "I didn't disturb you, right?" Gu Jiao shook her head. "I didn't. I'm already up." Yao Shi smiled and said, You haven't eaten breakfast yet, right? I brought steamed buns and brown sugar steamed buns. The manor was preparing for Gu Jinyu's banquet. Yao Shi had bought breakfast on the way. It was from a famous steamed bun shop in the capital. Come in. Gu Jiao invited Yao Shi into the yard. Xiao Lulang had also gotten up and was drawing water from the well. Yao Shi and Xiao Lulang had met a few times in the countryside. Unlike Marquis Gu's pickiness, Yao Shi was very satisfied with Xiao Lulang. He was handsome. This was important. He also studied well and was diligent. Originally, because they had not consummated their marriage, Yao Shi was worried about the relationship between the two. But after observing a few times, she found that the two were getting along very well. It was just that they had not been enlightened. Madame Gu. Xiao Lulang politely greeted Yao Shi. Gu Jiao called Yao Shi Madame Gu. Xiao Lulang also called her this. Yao Shi did not care about the title and happily gave it to Xiao Lulang. Gu Jiao wanted to go to the kitchen to make porridge for the family, but she was rejected by Yao Shi. Yao Shi would let her do anything else, but today was her and Gu Yan's birthday. Yao Shi would not let her do anything. Yao Shi would occasionally make some pastries in the manor, so she was quite familiar with the kitchen. She first made the morning porridge, and then began to prepare the next two meals. She sent Granny Fong to buy groceries. What to buy and how much to buy were all written down on the list. This was the first birthday that Yao Shi was celebrating for her daughter. She had prepared for a long time, and had even practiced the dishes. Yao Shi was still very popular in the family. Even the strange-tempered matriarch had been won over by her pastries. With her coming, everyone was quite happy. Gu Yan had nothing to do after breakfast, so he went to pick the corn cobs. However, he was stopped by little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong took the corn cob and raised his little hand to stop her. He said sternly, "Today is your birthday too. You don't have to do anything. I won't quarrel with you and let you have a day." Yao Shi made a table full of delicious dishes. Not only did she take care of Gu Jiao and Gu Yan's tastes, she also took care of everyone else's. Gu Xiaoshan stared at the dishes that she could barely put down. She was so shocked that she was speechless. Was this the new year? Why are there so many good dishes? Braised pig trotters with soybeans. Gu Xiaoshuan's saliva immediately flowed down. This was his favorite dish. The pig trotters were shiny and oily. When you poked them with chopsticks, the skin was still springy. Gu Xiaoshan felt that he couldn't take it anymore. The pig trotters were first braised, and then stewed in a clay pot. They were sticky and melted in the mouth. Xiao Lulang loved to eat fish, so Yao Shi made delicious Crucian carp soup. The matriarch liked sweet things, so Yao Shi made brown sugar glutinous rice cake, and only used half of the sugar. There was also a vegetarian meal for little Jing Kong. Yao Shi didn't forget to put it in little Jing Kong's exclusive small exquisite bowl. She had asked Gu Yan about these things. She remembered them one by one and prepared them carefully. This was also one of the reasons why everyone liked Yao Shi. She was always able to take care of people without making a sound. In addition to these dishes, Yao Shi also made a bowl of longevity noodles for the siblings. There were no extra ingredients for the longevity noodles. She only added a few green onions and drizzled a few drops of sesame oil. However, Gu Jiao felt that this bowl of longevity noodles was better than other noodles. There was an indescribable taste that warmed her heart and made her nose sour. She couldn't tell if this was her own feeling or Gu Yan's. After eating, everyone began to give Gu Jiao gifts. The first to give was little Jing Kong. He was the youngest and the most eager. He gave Gu Jiao and Gu Yan a small house made of clay. It was made of clay. After he made it, he asked his bad brother-in-law to help him roast it in the stove. Actually, he remembered that the small house he made didn't look like this. He didn't know why it changed shape after he roasted it. The truth was that he made it too ugly. Xiao Lulang couldn't stand it, and secretly repaired it for him. It looked better. The door of the small house could be opened. There was also a small wooden figure inside. He asked Gu Xiaoshan to help him carve it. Gu Yan lived in Gu Yan's house. Gu Jiao lived in Gu Jiao's house. However, when Gu Yan opened the door of the small house, he was dumbfounded. "Why are you in my sister's house?" Little Jing Kong. "I've been discovered." "That's right. The scheming monk, little Jing Kong. secretly asked Gu Xiaoshan to make a small wooden figure, and secretly put it in Jiao Jiao's house. This way he could be with Jiao Jiao every day. Gu Yan wasn't happy. He asked little Jing Kong to move out of Gu Jiao's house. Little Jing Kong refused. He even said sternly, "This is Jiao Jiao's gift. You can't destroy Jiao Jiao's things." "Fine, I won't destroy it. I'll move in." In the end, the three wooden figures, Gu Jiao, Gu Yan, and little Jing Kong, all moved into Gu Jiao's small house. Gu Yan's small house was empty. Gu Xiaoshan gave 2 Buddhist scriptures that he carved himself. In exchange for helping him carve the wooden figures, little Jing Kong took out his attire, put on the prayer beads, put on the monk's robe, took out a small wooden fish, and performed a ritual for the Buddhist scriptures sincerely. So these were Buddhist scriptures that had been blessed. Gu Jiao flipped through the Buddhist scriptures in his hands. He was in disbelief. Gu Xiaoshan was the most worry-free child in the family. However, because of this he was easily neglected by his family. Gu Jiao didn't know that he could learn so many words in just a few months. Many of them were rare words. "Can you read all of them?" Gu Jiao asked. "Yes, I can." Gu Xiaoshan nodded. Brother-in-law said that if he didn't know how to read them, he wouldn't know how to answer if someone asked him what he carved. Therefore, even though it was very difficult, he still tried his best to remember these words, including their meaning. Gu Xiaoshan saw Gu Jiao's thoughtful expression. He scratched his head. "Sister, do you not like it?" Gu Jiao looked up and smiled. "I like it. I like it very much." Gu Yan gave Gu Jiao a bracelet. He had bought it with his hard-earned money. From the moment he refused to move back to the Lord Protector's mansion, his father cut off his monthly allowance. Gu Jiao gave him pocket money every month. However, Gu Jiao gave him money to buy a gift for Gu Jiao. He always felt that something was wrong. Therefore, he decided to earn it himself. He didn't have any work to do at his great-aunt's place. He didn't know how to copy books at his brother-in-law's place. He also didn't know how to carve at Gu Xiaoshuan's place. After thinking about it, he decided on little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong had a monthly rent of 30 taels of silver. His family was definitely a small local tycoon. Gu Yan's process of earning money was like this. Every day, he fed the chickens in little Jing Kong. 5 copper coins. Every day, he took the chickens in little Jing Kong. 5 copper coins. Every day, he cleaned the chicken poop. 5 copper coins. Every day, he praised little Jing Kong in fancy ways. 10 copper coins. He worked for a total of 10 days and earned 250 copper coins. He originally liked a pair of pearl hair clips, but unfortunately, he didn't have enough copper coins. Therefore, he settled for the next best thing and bought a bracelet. The bracelet was strung with jade stones. Any stone in Gu Yan's house was worth more than these jade stones. However, he didn't earn them himself. Gu Jiao put on the bracelet. It looked very nice. Gu Jiao also prepared a gift for Gu Yan. Gu Yan didn't open it in front of everyone. He wanted to go back to his room and open it secretly. Little Jing Kong was very curious. He really wanted to know what Jiao Jiao gave Gu Yan. "Great-aunt, where's your gift?" Gu Yan asked. "I didn't." The old lady turned her face away. Gu Yan muttered. "I clearly saw it. You secretly did it every day." Gu Jiao looked at the old lady. The old lady reluctantly took out a pouch and put it on the table. Then, she looked up at the sky and ignored everyone. "I did it blindly." Gu Jiao picked up the pouch. Little Jing Kong came over to take a look and said in surprise, "Wow, great-aunt. You know how to embroider ducks." "What ducks?" "Those are mandarin ducks. One is your sister. The other is your brother-in-law. There are also a few duck eggs." "No, it's mandarin duck eggs. Look at how this little stinky monk led her astray." The Empress Dowager was a beauty when she was young. The Zhuang family was very powerful. She didn't need to be virtuous. It was enough for her to be beautiful in the harem. Later, the Empress Dowager realized that beauty wasn't necessary. After all, the emperor was blind. Therefore, the Empress Dowager really didn't know how to embroider. The Empress Dowager didn't directly embroider mandarin ducks into duck eggs. It was the result of her secretly sewing many pouches. Gu Jiao's pouch was indeed shabby. It should be replaced. The old lady looked like she didn't care about what was happening outside. but she was very meticulous. Gu Jiao smiled slightly. Thank you, great aunt. Although the old lady's pouch didn't look good, it was very practical. It was divided into several layers. It could separate banknotes, silver pieces, copper coins, and small items. In addition, it was inlaid with a special sewing layer. How could a normal person think so carefully? This was the Empress Dowager's love for Gu Jiao. It was also the Empress Dowager's excellence. Yao Shi made 2 sets of clothes for the 2 children. After coming to the capital, Gu Jiao didn't need to go up the mountain to chop firewood. Yao Shi made a set of clothes for her to work at home. The other set was the same as the noble ladies in the capital. It was an elegant and beautiful dress. There was also a box of gifts prepared for Marquis Gu and the older brother in the Fu. The 2 of them didn't open it. Finally, there was Xiao Liulong's gift. Everyone was looking forward to it. He never gave pen or paper. The whole family knew what he would give this time. It couldn't be a copybook, right? Then Xiao Liulang took out a brocade box. Under everyone's impatient gaze, Gu Jiao opened the box. It turned out to be a stack of copybooks. Gu Jiao. Everyone. However, it didn't seem to be a normal copybook. Each copybook was a poem. Gu Jiao felt that these poems were very well written, although she didn't understand what they meant. Gu Jiao patiently flipped through each copybook. Xiao Liulang didn't expect that she would flip through the copybooks in front of everyone. His expression inexplicably became nervous. Gu Jiao flipped to the end and found an unexpected surprise. This box was specially made. At the bottom, there was a white magnolia hairpin. Oh! Gu Jiao's eyes widened. This iron-like man finally knew to give her a hairpin? What Gu Jiao didn't know was that this hairpin was also called a hairpin ceremony. When a woman of Zhao country reached the age of 15, the elders in the family would hold her hair and give her a hairpin ceremony. This meant that the woman had reached adulthood and was of marriageable age. Of course, if the woman got married before she reached the age of 15, she would have a hairpin ceremony on the day of her marriage. This also meant that she had reached adulthood. When Gu Jiao got married, she didn't have a hairpin ceremony. Gu Jiao wouldn't spend so much effort on a fool, but Xiao Liulang still had an impression of it. When Yao Shi saw the hairpin that her son-in-law gave to her daughter, she instantly understood what was going on. She originally thought that her daughter had already had a hairpin ceremony, so she thought that today was just a normal birthday. Her son-in-law was very considerate. Gu Jiao finally understood why this guy didn't give her a hairpin. It turned out that hairpins were really troublesome. Since she hadn't had a hairpin ceremony, she couldn't use a hairpin. Yao Shi's eyes immediately turned red. Jiao Jiao, I'll comb your hair. Yao Shi and the matriarch combed Gu Jiao's hair. Under everyone's witness, Gu Jiao completed her hairpin ceremony. The moon was in the sky. The bustling streets were left behind by the horses. Gu Chongqing rode the horse to a quiet alley. He dismounted and led the horse into the alley. Unknowingly, he arrived in front of a familiar courtyard. The courtyard's door was half open. From time to time, the laughter of women and children could be heard. It was accompanied by the voices of young men. It was a joyous atmosphere. Gu Chongqing paused at the door for a while. In the end, he didn't go in. He turned around and was about to get on the horse. But suddenly little Jing Kong ran over. His small body squeezed through the gap in the door. "De Gidge, is it you?" Gu Chongqing turned around and looked at him. "It's me." "Jing Kong, who is it?" Yao Shi opened the half-closed door and saw Gu Chongqing outside. Her smile froze. Gu Chongqing was very surprised to see Yao Shi here. He was even more surprised by Yao Shi's unguarded smile. Although it quickly froze, he still saw it. He never knew that the depressed Yao Shi could be so happy. She was smiling like a child. "You." Yao Shi wanted to say something, but stopped. Little Jing Kong looked at Gu Chongqing, then looked at Yao Shi and asked, "Benefactor Yao, do you know each other?" "Benefactor? Most people wouldn't call him that." Gu Chongqing looked at him strangely. "Are you a monk?" Little Jing Kong explained seriously. "I was a monk before I came down the mountain. I'm not anymore." "Benefactor Yao is a pilgrim of our temple. I see her often. I'm very familiar with her." "De Gidge, Are you also here to celebrate Jiao Jiao's birthday? Little Jing Kong said it based on his identity. But in Gu Chongqing's ears, he thought that Yao Shi and the little monk's family were just old friends. It was really a coincidence that he and his stepmother knew the same friend. Gu Chongqing said seriously. No, I'm just passing by. Do you like birds? Little Jing Kong tilted his head and thought for a while. Yes. Gu Chongqing handed him a birdcage covered with a cloth hanging from the saddle. This is for you. After saying that, he got on the horse and left without looking back. Little Jing Kong looked at the back of the horse and waved his little hand. Thank you, De Gidge. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/114969392. HTML Genius memorized this website's address. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. Chapter 128. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels that cannot be found on the internet will be available here. Yao Shi lifted the cloth of the birdcage to take a look. There was actually an eagle chick inside. Yao Shi asked Little Jing Kong how he knew that big brother. Little Jing Kong told her how he was saved. I went to save Little Chi, and was almost hit by a carriage. It was Big Brother who saved me. Big Brother is so amazing. As he spoke, his eyes were full of admiration for Gu Chongqing. Yao Shi and Gu Chongqing had not lived together for 10 years. Her impression of Gu Chongqing was still from before he was 11 years old. At that time, Gu Chongqing believed someone's slanderous words and believed that Yao Shi killed his mother. Gu Chongqing did his best to oppose Yao Shi. His gaze towards Yao Shi was full of hatred. He also did not treat Gu Yan well. At first, Gu Yan did not understand and often went to find his 3 brothers. In the end, he always came back with bruises all over his body. Every time Marquis Gu found out, he would beat his 3 sons. But after the beating, someone would report it to the old madam. The ones who suffered losses were Yao Shi and Gu Yan. Yao Shi knew that Gu Chongqing did not beat Gu Yan, but he also did not save Gu Yan from his 2 brothers' evil clutches like how he saved Little Jing Kong. Yao Shi's heart was sour. He could be kind to strangers, but why couldn't he be kind to Gu Yan? Forget it. 10 years had passed. She had already let it go. Gu Yan had a Jiao. He lived a good life here in Jiao. He did not need to go back to the residence to look at anyone's face. He also did not need to suffer any unnecessary harm. Big Brother is a good person. Little Jing Kong said as he hugged the birdcage. Yao Shi smiled bitterly but did not say anything. Gu Chongqing was a soldier of the Zhao country. He had the duty to protect the people of the Zhao country. He was a good person to everyone, but to her and Yan, he was someone who wanted to eat their flesh and drink their blood. From Little Jing Kong, Yao Shi found out that Gu Jiao had also met Gu Chongqing. But the 2 of them did not know each other's identity. Gu Chongqing didn't see Gu Yan. Even if he saw them, he probably wouldn't be able to guess each other's identities. Has Big Brother only come once? Yao Shi asked. Including today, it's 2 times. Little Jing Kong said. The first time was when she saved Little Jing Kong and sent him home. This time, she was probably just passing by and thought that Little Jing Kong was cute, so she brought him a bird. What else could he do? Could it be that he's here to celebrate Jiao Jiao's birthday? He was the one who saved Jiao Jiao's younger brother, not the Jiao who saved him. Moreover, no one would give a fierce little chick to a girl's birthday, right? That's right, Gu Chongqing brought over a chick. It was even a gerfalcon chick that was known as 1 in 100,000 divine birds. Little Jing Kong didn't know what an eagle was, he only felt that this baby bird was very big. Okay, from now on, you'll be called Little Jiao. Jiao. Big Brother came just now. He gave me a bird. Little Jing Kong hugged the birdcage and went to look for Gu Jiao. Today the small alley was very lively. Not long after Gu Chongqing left, Wu Yang came. He was ordered by Royal Prince An to send birthday gifts to Gu Jiao and Gu Yan. Royal Prince An's reason was very open and aboveboard. My royal prince received Marquis Gu's invitation and originally planned to personally come and congratulate him. However, he has not been well these few days, so he asked me to send birthday gifts to Miss Gu and young Master Gu. Since Marquis Gu sent the invitation first, then it was reasonable for Royal Prince An to send gifts. However, Yao vaguely remembered that Marquis Gu wrote Marquis Gu's residence on the invitation. How did Royal Prince An find this place? Gu Jiao asked. How did your royal prince know that we came to the capital? Wu Yang smiled. Royal Prince is also a student of the Imperial College. He saw the register of the Imperial College and knew that young Master Shao also came to the Imperial College. He spent some effort to find this place. Gu Jiao snorted and sized Wu Yang up. I suddenly feel that you look a little familiar. Are you the thief from that night? Wu Yang shook his head like a rattledrum. I'm not. Oh my God, it's been so long. How can you still remember? You were almost recognized. When Royal Prince An came, Xiao Lulang was not home. Xiao Lulang only heard about it afterwards. Xiao Liulang's gaze landed on Wu Yang. Wu Yang felt strange being stared at. He coughed lightly and said, Is Grandaunt here? I'll go greet her. A meaningful light flashed through Xiao Liulang's eyes. Wu Yang went to the backyard to see the matriarch and gave her 2 boxes of delicious osmanthus cakes. The matriarch was very happy. Wu Yang saw that the Empress Dowager was in good spirits and was secretly relieved. In fact, Gu Jiao also felt that Wu Yang treated the old lady differently. Commandery Prince An was very strange when he first came. He said that he came to apologize to her for Zhuang Kaidai, but who would come all the way to apologize empty-handed and only send the apology gift the next day. In fact, Royal Prince An was not unaware of his flaw. He just thought that Shi Yi did not have a better excuse. He only prayed that Gu Jiao would not be so smart to think of this flaw. Gu Jiao felt that the assassination that night was related to Royal Prince An. The more she looked at this guy called Wu Yang, the more he looked like the man in black who shot arrows at the matriarch that night. Gu Jiao did not know that Wu Yang missed, and thought that they came to kill the matriarch. Therefore Gu Jiao was very cautious of Wu Yang. When he went to see the matriarch, Gu Jiao stared at him from the side. Wu Yang could not even whisper a few words to the Empress Dowager. Halfway through, Gu Jiao asked little Jing Kong to call him over. However, he came back quickly. Wu Yang sighed and left resentfully. Royal Prince. In another alley near the Imperial College, Wu Yang got on the carriage and reported to Royal Prince An. Does she like the gift? Royal Prince An asked. Wu Yang was not sure. Wu Yang asked, Royal Prince, why don't you personally give the gift to Miss Gu? Royal Prince An sneered. There are many people in the capital who are watching this prince. This prince has to be careful with every move. If someone discovers this place, the Empress Dowager will not be able to hide. On the twins' birthday, the whole family had a fulfilling and happy day. When it was close to midnight, Madame Yao returned to the residence. The residence had been busy for a day and everyone was exhausted. The masters had gone to rest early. The servants still had unfinished work and yawned as they worked. When Madame Yao entered the courtyard, she was surprised to find Gu Jinyu waiting for her in the room. Madame Yao thought about how she had spent the birthday with the twins, but neglected Gu Jinyu for an entire day. She felt very apologetic. She walked over and stroked Gu Jinyu's hair. She said, Sorry, mother came back late. She had originally planned to return after lunch, but she really could not bear to leave Jiao Jiao and Yan. She had stayed there for a few hours. If Nurse Fong had not reminded her repeatedly, she would not have known that it was already so late. Gu Jinyu's face did not show any grievance or anger. On the contrary, she was very happy. Mother, do you know how many guests came today? Madame Yao was stunned. Her daughter did not sleep in the middle of the night to wait for her. So it was not because she felt wrong that she came back late, but because the banquet was too lively and she was happy until now? Madame Yao sat down beside her. She endured her fatigue and said with a smile, Did many come? Yes. Gu Jinyu recited the names of all the distinguished guests, as if he was very familiar with them. He then emphasized the details of a few of them. Sir Zheng from the Imperial College is also here. He is the Minister of Justice, the next Chancellor of the Imperial College. That's great. Madame Yao smiled and nodded. Gu Jinyu continued. Although Royal Prince An did not come to the residence personally, he sent someone to give me a generous gift. Mother, look, these are all gifts from him. There are truly too many gifts today. Your daughter will not be able to use them all in this lifetime. Elder sister is not willing to return to the residence, so your birthday must be very shabby. Tomorrow, I will choose some valuable gifts to send to elder sister. Madame Yao thought that there was no need. Turning her head, she saw that Royal Prince An had indeed given her daughter a valuable gift, but it could not compare to what Royal Prince An had given the Jiaojiao siblings. This time, there really was no need. Gu Jinyu continued to show off. The Crown Princess also gave your daughter a birthday gift. This was something that Gu Jinyu was most proud of. However, Madame Yao remembered something. When Wu Yang was talking with the matriarch, he seemed to have called out, "The Empress Dowager." His voice was a bit soft, so the matriarch did not hear it clearly. Madame Yao happened to walk past him and accidentally heard it. She should have heard wrong, right? How could Liolong's grandaunt be the Empress Dowager? The Empress Dowager had not only personally made a pouch for her daughter, but also personally combed her daughter's hair for her coming-of-age ceremony. Even the princesses of the imperial family did not receive such treatment. I must be overthinking. Madame Yao shook her head. Mother, what did you say? Gu Jinyu did not hear clearly. Madame Yao returned to her senses. Nothing. I was saying that since these are gifts from guests, then you should keep them well. Gu Jinyu insisted. How can that be? I want to share them with elder sister. Madame Yao was very tired. She patted her hand. No need. You can keep them for yourself. She doesn't have many rooms and can't fit them all. Gu Jinyu still really wanted to give them to Gu Jiaojiao. She wanted Gu Jiaojiao to know that even if she was a daughter that had been brought back, she would still have limitless glory. No one could look down on her. Thinking of something, Gu Jinyu sighed. The only regret is that eldest brother was at the military camp the entire day and could not come back to attend my coming-of-age ceremony. Madame Yao could not bear to tell her that her eldest brother had just gone to Jiaojiao's home. The directorate was not far from Marquis Ding and Fu. If Gu Chongqing wanted to, he would definitely be able to rush back to attend Gu Jinyu's coming-of-age ceremony. It could only mean that Gu Chongqing had not truly accepted Gu Jinyu in his heart. Madame Yao's impression of Gu Chongqing could not be considered good. He was a person without feelings. In the future, if you have nothing to do, don't go looking for your eldest brother. What's wrong? Gu Jinyu asked in confusion. Madame Yao held her hand and sincerely said, Listen to mother. Your eldest brother will not accept us. Oh. Gu Jinyu lowered her eyes and complied. She agreed verbally, but the next morning, when she heard that her eldest brother had returned to the manor, she immediately went to wander around Gu Chongqing's courtyard. Gu Chongqing had just finished practicing and came out to see her. He coldly asked, What is it? That. Gu Jinyu shyly and nervously took out a pouch from behind her back. Many thanks to eldest brother for the birthday gift. This is my return gift to eldest brother. I made it myself. The birthday gift had been prepared by concubine motherling Gu Chongqing had long forgotten about it. He did not reach out to take it. Gu Jinyu said in a low voice, I know. I am not father's flesh and blood. I am not worthy to call you eldest brother. I stole the life that should have belonged to eldest sister. If possible, I would rather not have carried the wrong child. The Marquis Manor's glory and wealth are all eldest sisters. I should not have taken the nest for myself. Gu Chongqing more or less wanted to vent his anger on Gu Jinyu. But since she was not Madame Yao's flesh and blood, then he had vented his anger on the wrong person all these years. Gu Chongqing took the pouch. You are very thoughtful. Eldest brother had actually accepted her gift. Gu Jinyu could not believe it and was extremely excited. Is there anything else? Gu Chongqing asked. No. I will go pay respects to grandmother. Gu Jinyu suppressed her excitement and respectfully bowed to Gu Chongqing. She excitedly went to find old Madame Gu. The Imperial College examination was on the 27th of October. On the 22nd of October, Feng Lin also arrived in the capital. He first reported to the Imperial College, allocated his dormitory, and inquired about Xiao Liulang's address. Then he quickly went to find Xiao Lulang. He didn't go alone. There was an acquaintance by his side. The person who opened the door was Little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong looked at the person outside the door and exclaimed, "Brother Feng Lin. Brother Qingye." That's right, Lin Qingye was also here. He was also a student of the Imperial College. However, Lin Qingye was not admitted to the Imperial College on his own, nor was he recommended by the local county government. He was specially admitted to the Imperial College after the Lin family donated a building to the Imperial College. The two met on the way. Then Feng Lin and the Lin family entered the capital together. Hearing that Feng Lin was coming to find Xiao Lulang, Lin Qingye also expressed that he wanted to visit his little teacher. The two of them were very happy to see little Jing Kong. Feng Lin touched little Jing Kong's buzz cut and said, "I haven't seen you for a few days. You have grown taller." Little Jing Kong's face immediately darkened. He was clearly not. He was gaining weight every day. Lin Qingye pinched his little face and said, "You have gained weight." Little Jing Kong's face darkened even more. He was not fat. He was not fat. He did not grow horizontally. Little Jing Kong was so angry that he gritted his teeth. The adults in this batch really drove him crazy. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel was updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels were free to read. There were all kinds of novels that could not be found online. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/114937257. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. Chapter 129. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found online will be available here. Great Aunt Jiaonyang, I'm coming. I missed you so much. Feng Lin shouted as he ran into the yard. Xiao Lulang, who was marking little Jing Kong's homework in the study, suddenly jerked his hand and drew a long ink mark on little Jing Kong's homework. It was a sunny day. The old lady was sitting on a rattan chair in the backyard, basking in the sun leisurely. From time to time, she would grab a handful of sunflower seeds and munch on them. Gu Jiao was cooking in the kitchen. Xiao Lulang waited in the study for a long time, but Feng Lin didn't come to find him. The silly boy who was chasing after him. He finally lost him. After greeting the old lady, Feng Lin went to the kitchen to find Gu Jiao. He told Gu Jiao about his journey. He took the waterway back to Song County and met his old parents. He also met his older sister who was already married and his younger sister who was about to get married. In order to support his education, one of the sisters married a widower, and the other married a tea merchant who was over 50 years old. Feng Lin, who was already married, had no choice. Moreover, the widower was good to his sister. His sister was pregnant with his child. The couple lived a good life and was very filial to their parents. My sister's marriage. I broke it off. Feng Lin mumbled. Oh. Gu Jiao opened the lid of the pot and added a ladle of water. Feng Lin skillfully added a handful of firewood to the stove. Xiao Lulang, who was watching from outside the door, felt his temples throbbing. Boy, you're even more skilled than me at starting a fire for Jiao Jiao. That tea merchant is not a good person. He's so old and his son is older than me. And his reputation is terrible. I heard that he hit his wife. I don't want my sister to suffer after marrying him, so I returned the betrothal money to him and broke off the marriage. If it was the old Feng Lin, this marriage would definitely be impossible to break off. The tea merchant was in cahoots with the local government. Who could offend him? But Feng Lin had passed. He was already a high scholar. Not only that, he had also obtained a place in the Imperial College and was going to study in the capital. Feng Lin said to the tea merchant, "If you cancel the engagement today, I, Feng Lin, will owe you a favor. Otherwise, when I, Feng Lin, become successful in the future, the first person I will punish will be you." The tea merchant was frightened by Feng Lin's words. After much deliberation, he finally cancelled the engagement. Strictly speaking, I have to thank Lulang. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have been able to get in. Feng Lin was well aware of his own capabilities. Like Lin Qingye, he was not a gifted student. His grades were all obtained through hard work. Hard work was one aspect of it, but a good teacher was also a very important aspect. When Xiao Lulang was tutoring Lin Qingye, Feng Lin had listened to a lot and benefited a lot. There's also the spot for the Imperial College. I didn't expect that Lulang would give it to me. Isn't he afraid that he won't be able to become a top scorer? It's so risky. Feng Lin didn't know that it was Steward Lu who had interfered in the matter of the spot. He thought that Xiao Lulang had directly told the county magistrate to give it to him. Xiao Lulang wanted to give it to him, but with his current status he couldn't bribe the county magistrate to do it. Fortunately, Steward Lu helped him. Xiao Lulang stood outside the door and glared at Feng Lin fiercely. "Why don't you come and thank me? Can you thank me enough to thank my wife?" Feng Lin was talking nonstop. Suddenly he felt a chill on his back. He didn't know what was wrong with him. Gu Xiaoshan and Gu Yan went out. Little Jing Kong looked at the hands of the sundial in the courtyard. Usually they would only go out for an hour, according to Little Jing Kong's rules. Today they were out for more than 15 minutes. Little Jing Kong's obsessive-compulsive disorder was acting up again. He frowned seriously. They had been playing for so long that they didn't have any sense of time. Little Jing Kong decided to find his two playful brothers. He knew where they went. They went to an orchard near the market. It was free to enter, but if they wanted to pick their fruits, they had to buy them by the weight. Their fruits were fresh and not expensive. The grapefruit from a few days ago was quite good. They must have gone to pick grapefruit again. Little Jing Kong went to the grapefruit tree in the orchard. As expected, he saw Gu Yan. Gu Yan was sitting on a high branch and hugging the trunk in front of him tightly. However, Gu Xiaoshan was nowhere to be seen. Little Jing Kong raised his head and looked at Gu Yan, who was on the branch. "Brother Yan, why are you on the tree?" Gu Yan said coldly. "Because I'm more powerful." Little Jing Kong didn't have the ability to distinguish sarcasm from irony. He only understood the meaning of the words. "But you're obviously not powerful," he said seriously. Gu Yan was speechless. "Where's Brother Xiaoshan?" Little Jing Kong asked again. He couldn't climb up, so he went to get a ladder. Gu Yan wouldn't admit that he couldn't climb down, so Gu Xiaoshan went to get a ladder and a rope to help him climb down. Little Jing Kong said, "It's getting late. You should go home. Come down." Gu Yan said, "I'm not coming down." Little Jing Kong put his hands on his hips. "Why don't you come down? You've already played overtime today. I'm going to deduct your time tomorrow." Gu Yan stuck his tongue out at Little Jing Kong. "Fine, I won't come down. Come up and catch me if you can." Little Jing Kong really couldn't understand Brother Gu Yan's naughty behavior. He was only 3 years old, but he already didn't climb trees, let alone make funny faces at people. He was a mature child, but Brother Gu Yan still hadn't grown up. He was still a baby. "Don't tell me you don't dare to come down?" Little Jing Kong made a bold guess. "No, I don't," Gu Yan firmly denied. According to Little Jing Kong's strict observation, whenever Brother Yan lied, he would look left and right. He wouldn't dare to look at people directly. He was right on all three of them. "You just don't dare to come down." "I don't. You're the one who doesn't dare to come up." "Why should I come up?" Gu Yan choked on her words. Gu Xiaoshan went to look for a ladder, but he didn't know where he went. Gu Yan's strength was almost used up. He felt that he couldn't hold on any longer. If Gu Xiaoshan didn't come up, he was afraid that he would fall down. Just when the atmosphere was awkward and anxious, Gu Chongqing, who was passing by, heard Little Jing Kong's voice. It wasn't that he deliberately walked in this direction, but this was the only way to get to Marquis Ding, Anne's manor from the military camp. If not, he wouldn't have met little Jing Kong last time. He heard little Jing Kong's voice was a little anxious, as if he was arguing with someone. He paused for a moment, then urged his horse to go over. "What are you doing?" His horse stopped behind little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong raised his head, his big black eyes lit up. "Big brother, it's you. We meet again." Gu Chongqing nodded slightly. "Are you arguing with someone?" Little Jing Kong sighed. "No, it's one of my brothers. He climbed up a tree and can't get down. I'm worried to death." His words were exactly like, "It's my family's child who doesn't know any better. He climbed up a tree and can't get down. I'm worried to death." Gu Chongqing felt his eyelids twitch. He was only 3 years old, but he had the heart of a 30-year-old. He raised his head and looked at Gu Yan on the tree. Without saying anything, he flew up and carried Gu Yan down. Gu Yan was already exhausted, so he was easy to carry. Also, Gu Yan was very light. Gu Chongqing almost couldn't feel the weight of the person in his hands. Gu Yan's head was spinning. He didn't understand what was happening. When he regained his senses, he was already on the ground. And he blinked his eyes strangely and looked at the tall and strong man in front of him. He was stunned for a moment. Who are you?" Little Jing Kong explained. "He's Big Brother. The big brother who saved me last time and even gave me a bird." "Oh, that fierce little eagle was a gift from this big guy." "Big Brother Yan, what's wrong with your face?" Little Jing Kong asked. "What?" Gu Yan touched his face subconsciously. When he touched it, it didn't feel right. Little Jing Kong took out a small mahogany bronze mirror from his pocket and put it in front of Gu Yan. "See for yourself." Gu Yan looked at his red and swollen face in the mirror. He was so scared that he almost fainted. My face, why is it like this?" He was going to die. He was going to die. His handsome face was gone. "Maybe you were bitten by the insects on the tree. You have to see a doctor quickly," Gu Chongqing said. He remembered that the little girl was a doctor. He said, "Go back quickly." Gu Yan looked down at his swollen ankle. My ankle." Gu Chongqing paused and said, "I'll send you back." And Gu Yan was stunned. Little Jing Kong nodded and said, "Thank you, Big Brother. You send Big Brother Yan back first. I'll wait here for Xiaoshan Big Brother. Otherwise, I won't be able to find him when I come back later." Gu Chongqing looked at Little Jing Kong and said, "Can you do it by yourself?" Little Jing Kong patted his small chest. "Yes, I can. I'm very familiar with this place. I won't get lost." "That's good." Gu Chongqing mounted the horse and reached out his hand to Gu Yan. Gu Yan was stunned and didn't move. Gu Chongqing grabbed Gu Yan and put him on the saddle in front of him. Then he held the reins tightly with both hands and held Gu Yan in his arms. Gu Yan had never been so close to anyone since he could remember, except for Gu Jiao. But Gu Jiao was his sister. They were fraternal twins, and were together before they were born. Gu Yan felt very uncomfortable. He wanted to get off the horse, but he couldn't say the words to scold him. He couldn't tell whether he was frightened by the other party's imposing manner, or the condition of his feet and face really scared him. Gu Yan sat on the saddle like a little quail, and tried to distance himself from Gu Chongqing. But the saddle was only so big. Gu Yan's back bumped into Gu Chongqing's chest from time to time. Gu Yan gasped in pain and whispered, "Is it made of iron? Why is it so hard?" The road wasn't long. They soon arrived at their house. Gu Chongqing dismounted first and then looked at Gu Yan with a bitter face. "Can you get off?" Gu Yan used his sleeve to cover his swollen face. It was so ugly. It was so embarrassing. "Turn around. I'll get off by myself," he said. Gu Chongqing didn't move. He just looked at Gu Yan coldly. Gu Yan's hair stood on end. He stuck half of his head out from behind his sleeve. "I told you to turn around." Gu Chongqing directly carried him down. If the silly boy could get off, he would write his own name upside down. Gu Yan roared in his heart, "Ah, even my own brother didn't carry me like this. Put me down." Gu Chongqing carried him into the courtyard and put him on a rattan chair. Gu Yan was so angry that smoke came out of his head. In the past, he would look good no matter how angry he was. But today, his face was swollen like a pig's head. Now that there was smoke coming out of his head, he looked like a cooked pig's head. He even had a death stare in his eyes. Gu Chongqing, who was usually reserved, couldn't help but laugh. Gu Yan couldn't beat him or scold him. His eyes were like daggers. Gu Chongqing suddenly narrowed his eyes. He stuck out his finger and flicked Gu Yan's forehead. Gu Yan was like a baby who couldn't sit still. He fell down. Baby Gu was stunned. Gu Chongqing directly laughed this time. If the people in the barracks saw this scene, they would be scared to death. Gu Chongqing, who was known as the Iron Face King of Hell, actually knew how to tease a child. He even made himself laugh. There was a saying in the barracks, when the King of Hell laughs, the King of Hell's palace opens. Gu Chongqing would only laugh when he killed someone. Those who saw him laugh were all dead. Gu Yan hummed and turned around. He slapped Gu Chongqing's butt. Gu Chongqing went to the orchard and saw little Jing Kong with another 13 or 14-year-old boy. That boy must be Xiaoshuan's brother. Gu Chongqing didn't show up. He rode his horse to the barracks. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of the Imperial College entrance examination. The preliminary exam was originally on the same day as the Imperial College. However, due to various reasons, the preliminary exam was brought forward by 2 days. It was on the 25th. There were 2 exams. One was arithmetic, and the other was poetry. It sounded simple, but the questions were very difficult. The number of questions was also very large. Xiao Lulang and Gu Jiao sent little Jing Kong to the examination hall. "Don't be nervous," Xiao Lulang said to the little guy. Little Jing Kong raised his small chin and said, "I'm not you. I won't be nervous." Gu Jiao squatted down and checked his small bag again, just like how you usually do at home. Pay attention to your writing. There's no need to rush. The reason why she deliberately emphasized this was because little Jing Kong's only shortcoming was that his writing was too slow. Gu Jiao was worried that if the number of questions was too large, he would be anxious. Little Jing Kong patted his small chest. "Don't worry, Jiao Jiao. My handwriting is already very fast and very good now." Xiao Lulang looked at his arrogant little face and laughed. "You're so good. What rank do you plan to get?" Little Jing Kong said seriously, "I'll definitely get the first place." Most of the children who came to take the exam were 6 to 8 years old. Little Jing Kong was the youngest one. If it wasn't for the exam fee being as high as 1 tael of silver, Gu Jiao suspected that they wouldn't even allow such a young child to take the exam. Little Jing Kong took the exam and found his seat. He was the youngest candidate, but he was also the calmest one. The preliminary exam wasn't held in a booth. Instead, dozens of children sat in a large classroom with a large distance between them. When the bell rang, the invigilators in each examination hall began to distribute the exam papers. Little Jing Kong didn't feel any pressure to fill in the first few pages. However, when he reached the last 3 pages, he was dumbfounded. What are all these weird scribbles? They were Qi's folk rhyme, Chen's 5 characters 8 rhyme poems, and Zhao's 7 characters quatrains. They were all questions written in different languages. Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang, who were outside the examination hall, heard the news. When they heard that there was a 3-language exam this year, they felt guilty. They had made a mistake. They forgot to teach little Jing Kong a foreign language. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. All the novels that can't be found online are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/114933536. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. Chapter 130. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more interesting content. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are available here. Strictly speaking, the two of them couldn't be blamed for this. The exam papers of the Imperial College were different every year. Only one year had a foreign language exam, and that was 10 years ago. That exam paper had been sold out for a long time, so the people in the study room didn't copy it. Therefore, when Xiao Lulang went to the study room to buy the entrance exam papers of the Imperial College over the years, he didn't buy this one. Little Jing Kong was a very smart kid. He could learn everything that was taught to him seriously. If he didn't pass the exam, it would be the fault of the two adults. The examiners did have the intention to make things difficult for the prodigies this time. These prodigies were naturally smarter than ordinary people, so it was inevitable that they would be arrogant and conceited. The examiners wanted to give them a heads-up during the exam and break their spirit. When the examiners started to mark the papers, as expected, the last 3 questions all failed. None of them got all the questions right. The most impressive one was that he wrote a complete 7-character quatrain from the state of Zhao, but he got 3 words wrong. The rest of the examinees only wrote a few words. The examiners were very happy. It seemed that this year's prodigies would be obedient in class. However, when they came to the last exam paper, they couldn't laugh anymore. Who was this? What was written all over it? This kid wrote it blindly, right? An examiner asked. Another examiner faintly felt that something was wrong. I think I've seen this kind of writing somewhere before. The two of them invited the most prestigious language teacher of the Imperial College over. After the teacher read it, he couldn't give a definite answer. I have to let my teacher read it. The teacher took little Jing Kong's exam paper to a house in the capital and found an old Sanskrit researcher who was over 70 years old. In the end, more than 10 old Sanskrit researchers concluded that this examinee wrote in Indian. It was said that Indian was a language created by Brahma, the guardian of Buddhism, so it was also called Sanskrit. What did he write? An examiner asked. The teacher said, he wrote a Buddhist sutra. Everyone was speechless. What the F***ck? It took them a day to come up with the scripts and 3 days to translate the Buddhist scriptures in Little Jing Kong. For the first time, the examiners of the 10,000-year exam were confused by a student. Examiner 1. I can't give marks. Examiner 2. That's right, he didn't answer the questions according to the requirements. Examiner 3. And the words are written in a way that I can't understand. Examiner 4. Is it because he wrote in Sanskrit? Examiner 4 was collectively beaten up. What kind of truth was that? In the end, Little Jing Kong entered the Imperial College in 7th place. Little Jing Kong was very upset. For the first time in his life, he tasted defeat. He had boasted in front of his bad brother-in-law that he would definitely get 1st place, but in the end, he only got 7th place. Little Jing Kong did not even have a good meal. It was rare that Gu Yan did not take the opportunity to ridicule him. He patted his little shoulder and said, "All right, you're already better than many kids. When I was your age, I couldn't even read a word." Little Jing Kong pondered seriously for a moment, then suddenly burst into tears. "Will I be as stupid as you when I grow up?" Wah! Gu Yan was speechless. How could I, a flunky, comfort a straight-A student? On the morning of October 27th, Xiao Lulang also started his entrance exam at the Imperial College. The Imperial College had been suspended for almost 4 years. Most of the original students rushed over to take the exam. There were 3 grades in the Imperial College. After entering the Imperial College, the ranking was not based on age, but on grades. Those with poor grades would enter the Justice Hall, Chongji Hall and Guangya Hall. This was the 1st grade, and the semester was 1.5 years. Those with average grades would enter the Cultivation Hall and Sincerity Hall. This was the 2nd grade, and the semester was also 1.5 years. Finally, there was the Easygoing Hall. This was the highest grade in the Imperial College. Unlike the previous 5 halls, which were divided into classes, there was only 1 class in the Easygoing Hall. The probability of a new student entering the Imperial College was not high. Normally, they could only enter the Easygoing Hall after 3 years in the Imperial College. However, this year, there was a guaranteed spot in the Easygoing Hall. It was Royal Tutor Zhuang's grandson, Royal Prince, and was recognized as a young talent. When he was a hostage in the state of Chun, his talent was well known in the 6 states. Logically speaking, such a talented person could be valued by the imperial court without the need for imperial examinations. However, the Zhuang family had an ancestral rule that all descendants of the Zhuang family had to take the imperial examinations. Over the years, the Zhuang family had produced many talents in the imperial examinations. Of course, there were also some who failed the examinations. The Zhuang family was so powerful that it was normal for them to pass the examinations. However, if they failed the examinations, they would be ridiculed by the public. The Zhuang family did not care about the public's comments. They insisted that all the sons of the Zhuang family were sent to the examination. Royal Prince and did not disappoint. During the provincial examination, he was the top scorer in the capital. As everyone knew, the competition in the capital was the fiercest. Top scorer in the capital was also the rarest. Otherwise, the Imperial College would not have made an exception and guaranteed him entry into the easygoing hall. The Imperial College's grading speed was not exaggerated. After the examination on the 27th, the results were released on the morning of the 29th. This year's new students generally performed well. However, some of the older students who had been delayed for a few years due to the closed-door examination were slacking. Studying was like rowing a boat against the current. If you did not improve, you would fall behind. However, not all of the older students were like this. The quality of the Imperial College's teaching was unquestionable. As long as they put in some effort, their results would not be too bad. Unsurprisingly, most of the students who entered the easygoing hall were older students. However, when they were sorting out the last set of papers, they found an unfamiliar name. Xiao Lulang. Zheng Sai asked, "Where did this student come from? Has there ever been a student called Xiao Lulang in the Imperial College? Could it be a new student?" Li Sai asked. Zheng Sai frowned. How could a new student do so well? This result could be ranked among the top in the easygoing hall. The two Sai officials checked Xiao Liulang's student record and found that he was really a new student. Moreover, he had surpassed the top scorer in the Yuzhou region in the provincial examination. Li Sai smiled. This is the first time a new student has entered the easygoing hall, right? He was inexplicably looking forward to it. Zheng Sai said coldly, "Don't forget, Princeton is also a new student. This student called Xiao Lulang was just lucky. The title of the new student king will definitely be Prince," and Li Sai did not dare to refute this. Even though Princeton did not participate in the entrance examination, anyone with a discerning eye could see that his talent was above the older students in the easygoing hall. If he took the exam, would the first place belong to anyone else? Of course, this new student was also dazzling enough. Li Sai kept an eye on him and looked through his student records and information. Then he realized something. He can't be the examinee who wrote in favor of removing the vassals and scolded the emperor so badly, right? At the time, the matter was a bit big. All of the invigilators in Yuzhou were shocked. The main invigilator who was sent to Yuzhou to preside over the provincial examination was Li Sai's good friend. After he returned to the capital, he told Li Sai about the article in private. Li Sai's eyelids twitched when he heard it. Did that student not want to live? He dared to slander the emperor like that? He did not dare to give too high a score for this test. He was afraid that if the emperor wanted to see it, the emperor would be angry and fall ill. However, he could not stop him from doing too well in the first and third tests. Overall, he still had to understand the yuan. Therefore, this was a very strong student. He definitely did not enter the easygoing hall by luck. However, Li Sai could not explain so much to Zheng Sai. The Imperial College's examination did not have a ranking. It only showed the student's class. Xiao Lulang entered the easygoing hall. Feng Lin entered the second-grade sincerity hall. Lin Qingye also entered sincerity hall. The difference was that Feng Lin was in Class A of sincerity hall, while Lin Qingye was in Class B. On the other side, Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshuan's private school was also settled. It was in the Qinghe Academy near the Imperial College. The procedures were completed, and they could enter the school next month. Gu Jiao made a table full of delicious dishes, and called Feng Lin and Lin Qingye to the house to celebrate the start of the school year. The capital became cold at the end of October. It was said that the first snow had already fallen on the mountaintop of the Hugua Dragon Temple. It would probably snow in the city soon. The silver charcoal that Gu Jiao had stockpiled earlier was put to use. She bought a few hand heaters and put the silver charcoal in them. They could be warm for 2 hours. When they came back at noon, she would replace them with new charcoal. Now the price of charcoal had risen again. Fortunately, Gu Jiao had the foresight to stockpile enough charcoal and save a lot of money for the family. On the first day of school, little Jing Kong wanted to send them to the Jiaojiao. Gu Jiao sent him and Xiao Lulang to the Imperial College. After that, she sent Gu Xiaoshan and Gu Yan to the Qinghe Academy. When she returned to the house in Baishui Hutong, the old lady had just woken up and was sitting on a rattan chair in the backyard playing with the baby eagle that Gu Chongqing sent. This baby eagle was picked up by Gu Chongqing at the bottom of the cliff. It should have fallen from the cliff not long after it was born. As for whether it fell on its own or was slapped down by its mother's wings, it was unknown. In short, its mother seemed to have forgotten to pick it up. Even so, it did not accept its fate. It stubbornly struggled to stand up. Its small body seemed to hide a great power. A thin little figure quickly appeared in Gu Chongqing's mind. He brought the baby eagle back and brought it to the Hutong. The people in the Hutong knew nothing about the baby eagle's origin. They only thought that it was a gift from his big brother, just as little Jing Kong said. The baby eagle was very fierce. Whoever fed it in the family would be pecked by it. But the old lady had a unique skill. The old lady opened the chicken coop. Little Jing Kong's 7 chicks swaggered out. They were very brave chicks. Without any fear, they entered the cage of the young eagles. Then, they lined up just like how little Jing Kong would usually sneak them out. Each of the chicks took a mouthful of raw meat and fed it to the young eagles. The baby eagle had 7 chicks. It was very obedient and waited to be fed. The old lady looked at it happily. Gu Jiao came over and said, "Great-aunt, I'm going to the military camp to give something to second Uncle Go Hua." When they left the village, Xue Ningxiang asked them to give a letter and a few thick winter clothes to second Uncle Go Hua. There was also a protective talisman that Xue Ningxiang got from the temple. Gu Jiao also added a jar of pickled vegetables and jerky that she made herself. The old lady nodded. "Go ahead." There were several military camps in the capital. The Gu family was going to Hushan military camp. It was not too far away. If they were fast, they would arrive in half an hour. Gu Jiao hired a carriage. When they arrived at the military camp, the soldiers were training. They could hear the vigorous voices of the soldiers from afar. The carriage stopped outside the military camp. A soldier came over and stopped the carriage. "Who are you?" Gu Jiao got out of the carriage and said to him, "I'm looking for someone. He's Deputy General Hu's subordinate. His name is Zhou Erzwang." Go Hua's father was Zhou Dazhuang. The soldier looked at Gu Jiao from head to toe and said impatiently, "Visitors are forbidden in the military camp. Leave quickly." Gu Jiao said, "Just for a while." The soldier said coldly, "That's not allowed." Gu Jiao said, "I've brought something for him. I'll leave after giving it to him." The soldier became more and more impatient. "Leave it here. I'll send it to you later." In Zhou Erzwang's letter, he mentioned that some soldiers would embezzle the things that were sent to them. Gu Jiao still wanted to hand it to him personally. "When will they finish training?" "I'll wait for him here." The soldier frowned. "Hey, what's wrong with you? Is the military camp a place where you can stay as you wish? How do I know that you're not a spy?" "I'm not," Gu Jiao said. The soldier shouted, "You think you're not a spy just because you say so? I'll say that you are." "What's going on?" A dignified voice came from the direction of the military camp. The soldier turned to look and immediately bowed respectfully. "Sir Lieutenant, there's a woman here. She said that she's looking for someone from our military camp, but they're training now. I told her to go back first. I'll send the things in later." The sir walked out of the military camp and came to the two of them. The soldier bowed even lower. The sir's gaze fell on Gu Jiao's face. "It's you?" Gu Jiao nodded. "It's me." The soldier was stunned. "You two know each other?" No matter how he looked at it, this little girl didn't look like she came from a good family. How did she know the sir? And when the sir spoke to her, he didn't seem as scary as usual. What happened to the iron-faced Yama? Gu Chongqing looked at Gu Jiao. You know someone in the military camp? Gu Jiao nodded again. Yes, we're from the same village. His family is next door to me. His family asked me to bring him something. Gu Chongqing asked. What's his name? Who's his subordinate? Gu Jiao said. Zhou Erzwang. He's deputy general who's subordinate. Gu Chongqing said. You came at a bad time. Deputy general, who has just been transferred to the Qishan military camp. The Qishan military camp is very far from here. If you go there now, you won't be able to come back at night. Give me the things and I'll bring them over for you tomorrow. Thank you. Gu Jiao moved the things down. The soldier was dumbfounded. What was this little girl's background? How could she make the sir personally run errands for her? Gu Chongqing looked at the soldier. Don't you know that deputy general, who is no longer in the military camp? The soldier choked. I. Gu Chongqing's gaze was like a knife. You knew, but you didn't tell her. You even let her leave the things here. I think you want to pocket it for yourself. The soldier's legs went soft. I don't dare. Gu Chongqing said coldly. So you don't know? As a sentry, you don't even know that there's such a big transfer in the military camp. That's dereliction of duty. Sir, please have mercy. The soldier fell to his knees. If Gu Chongqing had mercy, he wouldn't be the iron-face king of hell. The soldier was finally dragged away and punished with 100 canes. He almost lost half his life. Gu Chongqing wasn't helping Gu Jiao vent her anger. He had always been very strict with his subordinates. Gu Jiao handed the things to Gu Chongqing and went back in the carriage. Before she left, Gu Jiao asked him to tell Zhou Erzwang her address. If anything happened to Zhou Erzwang, he could go to her home to find her. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896428266/114899923. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. Chapter 131. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. On the first day of school, Gu Jiao was actually a little worried about Xiao Lulang and little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong was too young. Facing a completely unfamiliar environment and a group of prodigies whose intelligence was not inferior to his, Gu Jiao was not sure what kind of reaction he would have in the elementary school. Xiao Lulang was being watched by someone. She was not sure if the other party would do something to make things difficult for Xiao Lulang in the Imperial College. Unexpectedly, after a day, little Jing Kong and Xiao Lulang were fine. Instead, it was Gu Yan's side that was in trouble. The cause of the incident was when Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshan entered the school. The two had the same foundation and were assigned to the same class. Qinghe Academy was an academy with excellent teachers. Thus, many young masters from aristocratic families would come here to study. Among them were the two young masters of Marquis Ding and Fu, Gu Chengfeng and Gu Chenglin. Qinghe Academy originally had many students from the Imperial College. When the Imperial College reopened, everyone returned to the Imperial College. Qinghe Academy suddenly had many empty spots. Gu Chengfeng and Gu Chenglin both transferred over. However, the two were older than Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshan. They also studied more than the two, so they were assigned to another class. The two classes happened to face each other. There was a small garden in between. Gu Chenglin was waiting for his second brother in the garden. Coincidentally, Gu Yan walked past him with a bag of books in his arms. Gu Chenglin glanced at Gu Yan and felt that he looked familiar. It was as if he had seen him somewhere before. Then he heard someone call him. Gu Yan. Gu Qinglin's expression immediately changed. Guyan Guyan. Wasn't that sickly younger brother called Guyan? No wonder he looked so familiar. He looked like their father. Gu Qinglin knew that Yaoshi's twins had also come to the capital. However, they had not returned to the manor, and were being raised outside. He did not expect to run into them so quickly. Strange, didn't the imperial physician say that this sickly child wouldn't live past 15? She was already 15 years old, so how could she still be so lively? Gu Qinglin walked over with a whoosh and blocked Guyan's path. Your name is Guyan? Guyan was only 4 years old when he left the capital. He had long forgotten what his family looked like, so he did not recognize Gu Qinglin. However, this did not prevent Guyan from sensing Gu Qinglin's ill intentions. Guyan frowned slightly. Who are you? Gu Qinglin rudely poked Guyan's shoulder with his finger and rudely said, Boy, I'm asking you a question. You'd better answer honestly. Is your name Guyan? Guyan was not intimidated by his imposing manner. He looked at him fearlessly. So what if I am? So what if he wasn't? What does it have to do with you? This calm appearance made Gu Qinglin very unhappy. Gu Qinglin originally planned to teach him a lesson if he was his sickly younger brother. If he wasn't, then he would let him go. But now Gu Qinglin changed his mind. This boy was actually not afraid of him, and was even glaring at him. Very good, if he did not teach him a lesson, he would not know who he was. When Gu Xiaoshan returned to the classroom after collecting his and Guyan's books, he found that Guyan had disappeared. He went to the latrine to look for Guyan, but did not see any trace of him. Gu Xiaoshan wanted to ask his classmates, but they all entered the school on the same day and did not know each other. Gu Xiaoshan scratched his head. Could it be that he went back first? That's impossible. He said he would wait for me. Gu Xiaoshan thought of Guyan's heart disease. He secretly guessed that Guyan might have fainted somewhere, because of his heart disease. Hey, I just saw your brother go to the back door. Gu Xiaoshan was anxious and angry. A shabbily dressed scholar cautiously stopped him. The scholar did not dare to say that Guyan was taken away by the nobleman from the opposite class. He was afraid of getting into trouble. He only reminded him. Hurry up and look for him. Don't tell anyone that I told you. Hey, thank you, brother. Gu Xiaoshan did not think much. He patted the scholar's shoulder and strode to the back door of the academy. At this time, Guyan had already been dragged into the woodshed at the back door of the academy by Gu Qinglin and a few of his bad friends. No one usually came to this woodshed. Gu Qinglin had people tie Guyan up and gagged him with a cloth. He locked him in the dark woodshed. Guyan was locked in a small dark room by his own brother. The fear of childhood welled up in his heart. When he was 4 years old, he was also locked in a dark and narrow room. He cried and screamed at the top of his lungs. In the end, he could not even cry. That kind of fear and despair was something that he could not forget no matter how many years passed. Guyan fell on the dirty and cold floor. He only felt that there was an invisible hand in the darkness pressing down on his chest. He began to gasp for breath. The secret guard that the old marquis gave him was sent to do something else. He was not by his side. If not, Gu Chongqing would have guessed his identity from the old marquis's secret guard. Gu Qinglin and the others had already left. It was as if no one had ever come here. Guyan let out a desperate cry. Unfortunately, no one could hear his voice. Gu Xiaoshan was anxious and angry. Oh, where did Guyan go? Guyan. Guyan. Guyan heard Gu Xiaoshuan's cry. He struggled, but he could not let Gu Xiaoshan hear him. Gu Xiaoshuan's voice was further away. Guyan was desperate. He struggled on the ground, trying to move to the door. But his heart suddenly hurt violently. His heart disease was acting up. He had the medicine that his sister gave him, but he could not get it. Gu Jiao sat in the carriage. She suddenly felt her heart hurt. Please hurry up, she urged the coachman. Okay. The driver sped up. But the thing that Gu Jiao did not want to see the most happened. The crown princess is out. Everyone, please leave. The entire street was filled with imperial guards who were holding wooden boards to avoid the carriage. The carriage's path was immediately blocked. Guyan felt like he was going to die. He lay on his side on the ground. His hands and feet were tied. He struggled until he lost all his strength. He looked fearfully into the darkness and choked. Sister, I'm in so much pain. On the way back to the classroom, one of Gu Qinglin's friends asked, Second young Master Gu, will something happen to that boy? Gu Qinglin did not care and said, what can happen? Can't you see that he's alive and kicking? I'm just locking him up for a few hours to teach him a lesson. Let's see if he dares to glare at me the next time he sees me. That's true. The few of them laughed as they escorted Gu Qinglin back to the classroom. Gu Yan's breath became weaker and weaker. He could not even feel the pain anymore. He knew that he could not fall asleep. Otherwise, he might never wake up again. But he was too tired. He could not hold on any longer. Clang! Before he lost his last bit of consciousness, the door was kicked open. A glaring light suddenly shone in. Gu Yan opened his eyes and saw a tall and powerful man. He stood in front of him against the light like a god. Gu Chongqing broke the ropes that tied his hands and feet with his bare hands. He bent down and carried him out of the room. Gu Yan leaned into the other person's arms. He was a little dazed. He grabbed the other person's clothes, as if he was grabbing onto his last life-saving straw. He opened his mouth. Gu Chongqing lowered his head. What did you say? Gu Yan said weakly, medicine. Gu Chongqing put Gu Yan down and began to look for medicine on him. After a while, he found a small porcelain bottle. He poured out 2 pills and fed them into Gu Yan's mouth. Gu Chongqing took off the water pouch from the saddle and fed Gu Yan some water. Gu Yan's face was not so pale. His heart did not hurt as much, but he was still very weak. He did not even have the strength to speak. Gu Yan recognized him. He raised his hand and grabbed his clothes. He only used 2 thin fingers to grab a little, like a weak and wronged cat. Gu Chongqing sighed helplessly. I'll take you home first. Gu Chongqing happened to pass by and heard a weak whimper. At first he thought it was a cat. Later, he felt that something was wrong, so he jumped over the wall and came to the woodshed. He was a martial artist. His hearing was excellent. If it were someone else, they would not have been able to hear Gu Yan's movements. Gu Yan sat on Gu Chongqing's horse again. Last time, he still had the strength to keep a distance from him. This time it was all over. He was like a snail without a shell. He leaned weakly on Gu Chongqing's chest. Gu Yan still felt that his chest was very hard. But it was also very warm. Gu Yan suddenly felt a trace of stability and peace of mind. This was the first time Gu Yan had this kind of feeling from someone other than Gu Jiao. Gu Yan did not have the strength. To prevent him from falling, Gu Chongqing held the reins with one hand and held his waist with the other. The strength in his arms was different from that of Jiao Jiao. It was the masculine strength that only belonged to men. When Gu Chongqing sent Gu Yan home, Gu Yan was already asleep. Gu Jiao just arrived at the door and bumped into the two. Gu Jiao looked at Gu Yan. Her eyes suddenly became cold. Gu Yan's breath had stabilized. But his clothes were dirty and his face was scratched. It was obvious that something bad had happened. Gu Chongqing said, I found him in the academy's woodshed. You can ask him the details when he wakes up. Gu Jiao took Gu Yan and thanked Gu Chongqing. Thank you. Gu Chongqing sat on the horse and said expressionlessly, You also saved me. We're even. Gu Jiao did not say anything. She carried the sleeping Gu Yan back to the house. When old Madame Fu saw her baby Yan in this state, she was so angry that her hair stood on end. Which bastard did this? She had never guessed that it was Gu Yan who had fallen down by herself. Gu Yan was not so careless. Moreover, there would not be bruises on his wrists from falling. Gu Jiao took out her stethoscope and listened to Gu Yan's heartbeat. Then she found Gu Yan's small medicine bottle. She put 2 emergency pills in it, just enough for 1 dose. Now that the medicine was gone, it meant that his heart disease had acted up. Fortunately, he took the medicine in time. Otherwise, he would be looking at a cold corpse now. Gu Shaoshan did not find Gu Yan in the academy. He asked for leave from the headmaster and ran home to look for Gu Yan, only to find that Gu Yan was injured. How did this happen? He asked. I just went to get a book. Gu Jiao said, Go back to the academy for class first and ask for leave for Gu Yan. Oh. Gu Shaoshan did not dare to disobey his sister. He went back to the academy. Gu Jiao did not go anywhere. She sat by the bed and waited for Gu Yin to wake up. Who did this? Gu Jiao asked. Gu Yin lowered his eyes and clenched his fists. Gu Jiao was his sister, so she could empathize with his emotions. You know each other? An acquaintance? Gu Yan's eyes dimmed. Not just an acquaintance. It was someone who was related to him by blood. Gu Yan did not recognize Gu Qinglin at first, but when he was locked in the small dark room, a familiar feeling of fear came to his heart. Gu Qinglin locked him up like this when he was young. He also heard the people outside call him Second Young Master Gu. He was almost certain that he was Gu Qinglin. However, Gu Qinglin was in a good mood after teaching Gu Yan a lesson. He was even more energetic in class. On the way back to the residence, Gu Qinglin and his second brother, Gu Chengfeng, talked about Gu Yan. What did you say? Madame Yao's son is also in our academy. Gu Chengfeng was very surprised. It should be him. Gu Qinglin said. Gu Chengfeng frowned. What do you mean by should be? Yes means yes, no means no. Gu Qinglin thought for a moment and said, Isn't that sickly child not going to live past 15? He's already 15. Even if he doesn't die, he should be dying soon. But that Gu Yan doesn't look like he's dying. Gu Chengfeng said, Maybe it's someone with the same name. Then why did you lock him up? Gu Qinglin snorted coldly. Who told him to glare at me? You. Gu Chengfeng didn't know what to say. Gu Qinglin chuckled. Second brother, do you hope that he's that sickly child, or do you hope that he's not? Gu Chengfeng said, Is it up to me to hope? If he's that sickly child, you'll kill him by locking him up like this. Gu Chengfeng felt guilty. That can't be. Gu Chengfeng glanced at him. Don't you remember when you locked him up when he was young? He almost died? Father was so angry that big brother and I got beaten up together with you. Gu Qinglin pursed his lips. You say it like you didn't beat him up. When Gu Yan was still living in the residence, Gu Chengfeng and Gu Qinglin were the main forces who bullied Gu Yan. Although Gu Chongqing also hated Gu Yan, he didn't bully people younger than him. He usually targeted Madame Yao directly. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/114896554. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. That you're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.